Chapter
NK
101,
books.
Nuclear Radiation 4.
The 10th dungeon round has only 106,000 players left. This time a huge wave was eliminated, so I think leaving the dungeon directly on the 10th day is actually more profitable.
Moreover, the current experience value is 14/30.
If I leave on the 15th day, then entering the next round will become 25/30. If in the early stage we need to stretch the gap among the three attributes, clearing stages is definitely optimal. But by now it is hard to say when the contest ends. There are many ways to respond, clearing is not always required.
Chengdu was speechless. Therefore I even gave up the extra reward of experience plus 5.
Later, once we had stamina medicine, he stopped nitpicking the math. I added that rare drugs like stamina medicine should be stockpiled as much as possible. With no other choice, Chengdu handed out 4 doses of stamina medicine and said, "Take these, whether to use them for clearing or not is up to me." I accepted without ceremony and, reciprocating, gave him 12 nutrition capsules.
He did not refuse, tossed them into his personal stash, then asked, "What about the precious perfumed soap?" The trigger rate did not prop. I answered,
He lowered his eyes and said calmly, "This is only a game, there is no standard answer, just have fun. If you want to leave early, then go, do not overthink.
Once I leave, you may be alone in the dungeon." I reminded on purpose.
When I first entered, before meeting you, did I not live just fine? He said naturally, "I have a rocket launcher, I have stamina medicine, I have plenty of drugs, nothing to fear."
I thought for a moment and agreed, and finally felt at ease.
At exactly 9 in the morning the next day, the system's mechanical voice announced, "The 5th day in the game." At the same time another prompt rang in my ear, "Experience 30/30, congratulations, talent level +1. My translucent panel updated at once. My name is Tahan with real name verified, level 7 with experience 15/30. The second profession is soap maker with all talents at advanced and no further upgrade. Belly fullness is 814/860. Cleanliness is 808/860, stamina is 533/860.
I murmured, I wonder if a third profession can appear.
For a moment I wavered, but thinking that after 2 or 3 more instances the tournament ends, any grind of attributes or professions would be useless with no chance to use them, so the idea faded.
We holed up until about 11, then rose in tacit unison to head for the underground plaza.
Just then the system warned coldly by my ear, "The total radioactive elements exceed the threshold, your body suffers low-level damage." I then noticed that my attribute caps had dropped from 860 to 800, and belly fullness fell from 814 to exactly 800.
After inhaling radioactive elements, will the caps keep decreasing?
My heart tightened, then I realized, as time passes, the total radioactivity inhaled only grows. As for countermeasures, I could only think of drinking stamina medicine. Yet only the doctor profession has that medicine, and most players cannot stay as calm and leisurely as Chengdu. By this logic I felt that only a high-level doctor has a chance to clear this nuclear radiation instance. "What are you doing? Why not move?" he urged me to hurry. We had to reach the underground plaza to shelter.
My mood was leaden.
Since entering this dungeon, one conclusion is clear: death is inevitable, we only rack our brains to delay it. Breathing, eating, drinking, whatever we do, we inhale radioactivity more or less, and we all converge on the same endpoint of death.
Even if unwilling, most are powerless.
I felt this was my most stifled moment in the game, yet in truth my situation was still quite good.
My dwindling stock just made me anxious, while many
players were already penniless. Medicines are hard to resupply, inventories are finite, and we must buy foods that boost radiation resistance to slow stamina loss, while daily goods and food are consumed widely. In only a few days players faced the dilemma of no ammo and no rice. No one wants to wait for death and give up competing, so some groups discussed and decided to risk a big move. At the underground plaza I valued kelp and ginkgo leaf tea, so I went to that shop again. The owner smiled, "Eating still okay, let me recommend more, dried kelp also works well against radiation." I demurred, "Good things are many, but the price is high, I cannot afford them." Unexpectedly, Chengdu paid at once and stuffed a big pack into my hands. I was speechless, since I actually could afford it. I was only playing poor, but my teammate exposed me without a word. The owner looked at him with respect and praised, "For a man the key is to be willing to spend for his girlfriend, pick a boyfriend like him." "Not really," he replied modestly, then told me, "Cook kelp soup tonight, I want to drink it." I deflated on the spot. The owner fell silent. No wonder people say being single is a matter of strength. With that way of talking, a girlfriend would take a ghost. As she was silently grumbling, a grenade suddenly flew into the shop. "Ah!" a shrill scream burst out. By reflex he ducked into a corner and shielded me with his arms. He cried out in pain, clearly wounded. Then explosions boomed around the shop in succession, obviously an organized crime. Chengdu! I was safe under his guard but seething with anger. Seeing my teammate hurt for me, I wanted to eat someone alive, especially to hack the culprit into pieces. At that moment, something else was thrown in. Before I could see clearly, thick smoke rose and blotted our view. It was a smoke grenade. I reacted at once. Light footsteps sounded with very soft whispers, "Move fast, no time to daze. Grab and go, do not delay. Remember, swift and decisive." Though smoke blurred sight, the directions of the voices were clear. My ears twitched and I fixed their positions, then pulled several grenades from my stash and hurled them. Tit for tat indeed. A tiny clack came as items hit the floor, but the robbers were engrossed in looting and ignored it. Their sight was also blocked, unaware of others' moves. Only he noticed and whispered, "The shop is cramped, fighting here is bad, let us get out and deal with them." "No need. I threw at perfect range, it will not reach us yet we'll blow them away." A cold gleam rose in my eyes. No sooner said than a thunderous blast erupted. The bandits had just yelled, "What is this?" and in a blink turned into white light. He was a bit helpless. He had wanted to act, but before he could I had finished everything, so efficient and decisive. I patted his arm and advised, "Let go, or you will get hurt again." He sighed inwardly and released me. Outside, gunfire kept banging, the situation was fierce. Inside, the smoke thinned and we could see roughly. I looked around and grew anxious. Where is the owner? Could she have fallen? Just then a hand stretched from under the counter. Here. She had dived below the counter when things went south. His sharp eyes scanned and found several nearby shops robbed at once. Some gangs had finished and slipped away, some were countered and turned to white light on the spot. "How many are taking part in the robbery?" he frowned, finding the number far above expectation. I sighed. It is the 5th day, and I guess that among 1,000 players at least about 300 have been driven to desperation. Truthfully, I wanted to say 500 or 600. Robbing in the underground plaza is a huge risk, but some people have no choice. Risking it gives a sliver of hope. Sitting still is certain death. The author voiced the thought. I said that after 2 or 3 more instances, the contest will end. Chapter 102, Nuclear Radiation 5. Tahan waited calmly inside the shop, going nowhere, and simply waited for the troublemakers to be put down. Just then a tongue of fire burst at the door and devoured the passage in a blink. Chengdu's face hardened and he breathed out flamethrower. Players alive till now all hold some trump cards, and when it is do or die they stop hiding. As he spoke the ground swayed. Outside shook so hard one might think of an earthquake. Soon a thick gunpowder smell spread and a section of the underground plaza began to collapse. "Timed explosives," murmured Tahan. "How many packs in one blast?" Each day when stamina runs out a player loses qualifying, and at that point no stock of powder matters. So the robbers went all in and launched an assault, swearing to seize enough supplies to live. Suddenly Tahan paled and clamped a wet cloth over her nose and mouth. Beside her Chengdu changed color too and strapped on a medical mask. The random blasts damaged the structure and the plaza developed faults. Even inside the store their stamina drop accelerated and was faster than in a sealed room. Chengdu had considered that. The two exchanged a look, then withdrew without delay and hurried back to their own house. In the lull he faintly doubted his earlier decision. For a mere clear reward, was it worth trading life tonic? He was thinking when boom boom, a loud blast cracked very close by. With razor reflexes, Tahan turned toward the sound. 5 men kicked in the door, faces ferocious. The leader jerked his chin, hand over all supplies. Another clicked his tongue, why waste words, just cut them down and search the room.
Tahan's mind turned crystal clear. The desperate are not 1 or 2 but hundreds. Some aim at the underground plaza and some at survivors, and the group before her were the latter. She eyed the shattered door and frowned deeply. Chengdu also had his thoughts broken and without a word drew a rocket launcher ready to fire. Damn, a rocket launcher!
The robbers blanched together and sweat beaded their palms.
A few crisp blasts ended the raid, yet no joy touched his face.
He said gravely, radiation in the room is rising. Proof was the stamina fall inside was much faster than before.
Tahan let out a heavy breath, the pressure near suffocating.
Elsewhere, Huang Dong not rifle through loot and grinned. Chips, biscuits, chocolate, a bottle of cola, a bottle of mineral water, 5 liters body wash, everything one could ask. With this haul he was sure to last until day 10.
Thinking back on the instance, his face grew gloomy. At first he found satiety and cleanliness dropping very fast.
Normally 1 day costs about 50 satiety and 50 cleanliness, but in nuclear radiation it somehow rose to 80 per day for each. He planned to grit his teeth on stock, but with time it worsened. He entered moderate injury, and 1 day cost about 130 for satiety and 130 for cleanliness, and worse, there was no way to clear the debuff. Short of food, short of daily goods, short of medicine, short of everything. So when someone came to recruit him for a raid on the plaza, he agreed at once.
The raid was brutal, many brothers fell while fleeing, yet he escaped. Grenades were spent and stored bullets down by about 7 parts, but he still believed clearing the 10th instance would be a win. He thought of how some robbed the plaza and some robbed survivors, and half his heart went cold, for in the end he had tailored a wedding robe for others. Back to Tahan and Chengdu after their door was smashed, they bunkered in the inner room and finally slowed the stamina slide. But trouble kept coming.
In roughly 2 hours, Chengdu had to use the rocket launcher on 5 groups. At last he admitted, radiation is too hard, if we stay several more days we will run low on launcher ammo.
Tahan nodded.
The broken door ruined the seal, so stamina changed from 1 point per 10 minutes to 1 point per 4 minutes. Doing rough math made her shiver. She had gulped dozens of medicines to haul stamina above
600 only to watch it cliff dive again.
Chengdu pulled out an iodine preparation. No need to clear, just take the medicine. As soon as she drank, the system chimed. You used an iodine preparation for the next 4 hours. You are immune to nuclear radiation damage and taken no more radiation. Note 1 use per day. High price truly buys value, said Tahan. 4 hours of immunity is a worthy buff.
A glance at his stash showed 1 more empty slot and his heart ached faintly. Day 6 eat sleep pop pills and brawl. Day 7 eat sleep pop pills and brawl.
By late afternoon the system told her, the total radiation you inhaled exceeds the standard, your body suffers moderate damage.
The gray regions on satiety, cleanliness and stamina expanded.
She stared as attribute caps dropped from 800 to 700. The caps keep weakening day by day, and we live by pills while eating and washing only keep satiety and cleanliness barely safe. She looked up and groaned, can this garbage game even be played? After you drink a life tonic, the gray regions and the radiation total clear together, reminded Chengdu, for the tonic removes all bad states.
NK books.
It feels like non-doctor players are discriminated against, she said. Every class has strengths and weaknesses, he replied evenly. She had no answer. On day 8 things slipped further out of control. Some knew they would not make it and swore to drag others down. A little after 9 in the morning, while she sorted her stash, a loud roar came from outside. Stepping out, she saw 1 man pouring oil and lighting it in blatant sabotage. Beside him another one, half shadowed, looked like his partner and fired at anyone as if bullets cost nothing.
Weariness washed over her. Too many madmen, we should steer clear, sighed Chengdu. Her face was blank. After we leave, where can we go?
He froze. She continued, if we go out and fight we only pay about 100 to 200 stamina,
but if we leave and fail to find shelter, then each following day may cost 200, 300 or more. He conceded she was right.
The house next door was already roaring and the flames edged toward the neighbors.
The two arsonists laughed like maniacs.
"You take the left, I will take the right," she said, but a head popped from a corner and an automatic sprayed wildly at the arsonists.
They refused to lose and struck back with grenades and a flamethrower.
Soon all three turned into white light almost together. To-han fell silent.
So did Chengdu.
Too many madmen made a cold fear seep into the bones. The culprits were dead, yet the mess remained.
Staring at the blaze and hearing the boom-boom inside, her temper flared.
Rolling his sleeves with a sigh, he said, "Put it out. There is still water at home, though it is irradiated."
Over an hour later the fire died. Exhausted, they staggered back and collapsed on the sofa.
"I want to leave the instance right now," she muttered. Rarely did he feel so constrained, and his chest felt tight. Even the king loses to a desperado.
Those people are empty-handed with nothing to lose, so they do not hold back. If we linger, we may be dragged under for real.
Nothing in this world is guaranteed without fail.
For stability's sake, he too wished to leave. Chapter 103, Nuclear Radiation 6.
Worse still, because the ashy zone persisted, she could not pull the attributes up to 860 and could only waste time staring at the panel. Her head brimmed with anxiety, sometimes recalling figures, sometimes crunching numbers. In the end her mood collapsed, she fell into worry, and aside from the attribute values she had no mind for anything else. Unable to watch any longer, Chengdu suggested, "Take a dose of vitality potion.
If it can cure, then cure; if it cannot, then let it be." Chengdu replied bluntly, "Anyway, the morning after tomorrow we can leave the instance."
The reasoning was so sound that To-han could not utter the words "not so." She sighed, "When the 3 attributes drop below the safe line, I will drink it." The next instant the ashy zone vanished completely, and the 3 attributes fully recovered to 860.
At the same time the mechanical voice chimed by her ear, "The state of moderate injury has disappeared, inhaled radioactive elements have returned to 0, recalculation begins."
To-han breathed out lightly, "The vitality potion truly is a miracle. It is an antidote of a precious grade." Chengdu answered matter-of-factly, "If the effect were poor, would that not betray the word precious?"
To-han fell silent, thinking of the nutrient capsule.
Its famed preciousness was not without cause, yet it still had not found a stage to shine. Although To-han wished for smooth days and for players in the instance to be quiet as chickens while everyone crazily popped pills until the morning of the 10th day, accidents still arrive and never heed human will. At noon on the 9th day, as the 2 egg mixed seaweed and sipped dried seaweed soup, a violent explosion suddenly thundered. Right after that the wooden door caught fire and blazed. Seeing the familiar sight, Chengdu's face turned cold. Someone used a rocket launcher. To-han's feelings tangled. They had long been the ones bullying players with a rocket launcher, and now it was finally their turn to taste a high-tech hot weapon. Without time to think, she decided crisply, go to the underground plaza, then leave by another gate and find a new shelter. The room had suffered repeated strikes, so if it could not be kept, then simply abandon it. Chengdu answered, shouldered a quilt over his head, and charged first through the sea of flames. To-han followed closely, doing her best to dodge the flying sparks. Only after they reached the stairway down to the cellar did the two finally exhale.
Their bodies stayed taut like bowstrings, and they dared not pause even half a minute.
They walked forward in silence, not exchanging a word along the way. Upon entering the underground plaza, To-han froze. The place once bustling was now dotted with only a few open shops while most storefronts were shut.
What had happened? Since the great robbery at the plaza, she had not returned.
The lady boss's shop was closed too, so she had no one to ask. Fortunately, the stall selling the handbook of nuclear radiation protection remained open.
Delighted, To-han went over.
The inquiry was simple. She handed 2 slices of black bread and the owner spoke at length, "You have no idea, these 2 days are war-torn chaos, the entire plaza is a tangled mess.
There are robberies every day. In this plaza, the scarcer the goods, the more they are targeted. The meager daily profit cannot withstand the losses from being shaken down. Who would risk life to keep the shop open? They ran long ago. He leaves, I leave, you leave, and in the end almost all ran. Only a few shops are left half open. The owner paused. He added, a tiny booklet stall like mine draws no shakedowns, so it is rather safe. But it has been long since anyone came to shop. Sooner or later this place will close. Tahan glanced outside and saw sparse passers-by in utter desolation, completely unlike the early bustle. She could not help thinking that if players did not wreck things at will, the plaza might still be flourishing. Yet, she knew that was impossible. With players about to be eliminated, who would care about the plaza's prosperity? Grabbing enough survival supplies fast is the true scripture. Tahan turned to go but was tugged by Chengdu. Sighing, he told the owner, not only the underground plaza was robbed, the surface is chaos too. Stay quietly at home and people still rush in with guns and fire everywhere. The two of us barely escaped, and now we have nowhere to go. Returning is out of the question in case the lunatic has not left. If possible, may we borrow your place for one night? The owner kept a straight face and thought, of course absolutely not. Joking aside, with unclear origins, how could he casually bring people home? What if he were robbed? He was about to refuse politely when Chengdu continued, rest assured, the payment will not be small. How about 10 slices of untainted black bread? The string called reason snapped. The owner changed tone heroically, meeting his fate. Talk of payment hurts feelings. All right, 10 slices of black bread. Bulge a bag and draw bad eyes. Let me find a safe place to stash them for you. Thus the lodging matter was neatly settled. Just after 4:30 in the afternoon, the owner led the two tenants to his home. On the way he reminded them again and again, my place is quite small, please do not mind. Chengdu smiled, we only need a place for the night, we will not stay long, safety is enough, the rest is not important. The owner finally relaxed. After several turns they quickly entered a small room. Yes, he answered while leading them inside. Tahan looked around and confirmed he had not lied. The basement was about 12 to 13 square meters, not large. A bed and various odds and ends filled the space, stuffing every leftover corner. Standing inside, the three felt a bit cramped. Well, the owner smiled sheepishly, give me a moment. He began to tidy up. Chengdu sat at ease on a mat and leaned against the wall to rest. Tahan was not pretentious either. She sat beside her teammate and said, do not mind us, please carry on. The owner thought to himself that with two people right there in his room, how could he pretend they did not exist? Exhausted, he put up a wooden frame and hung a set of clothes on it. In this way a simple curtain divider was done. From behind the makeshift curtain he raised his voice to call out, each day I must sleep a long time. I start sleeping at 5 in the afternoon and only get up at 10 in the morning. Do not call me unless it is necessary. Got it. Chengdu answered loudly. To be fair, this setup had a bit of practical sense. The last night inside the nuclear radiation instance felt unusually long. Tahan wanted to sleep peacefully, yet after a short doze she jolted awake from dreams. Later she simply gave up struggling and decided to keep her eyes open until dawn. What is wrong? At some point Chengdu had also opened his eyes and asked with silent lip movements. Tahan mouthed back, there is another person in the room, I cannot sleep. Chengdu met her gaze and soothed her, it is fine, I am here. Tahan shook her head and said nothing. Carefully shifting position, Chengdu placed himself as a shield, is this more reassuring? Tahan widened her eyes. After the switch her teammate stood between her and the owner. If anything unexpected happened she would be fine, but who knew about the teammate? She struggled up wanting to switch back. Unexpectedly Chengdu pressed her shoulder lightly and whispered, it is all right, sleep, then closed his eyes. Tahan thought where is it all right, yet drowsiness surged for no reason and her eyes soon grew heavy. At some unknown time she drifted off. At dawn her head was resting on Chengdu's shoulder when she woke. She raised it slowly, feeling that something seemed a little off. Acting natural, Chengdu changed the subject and mouthed, there are 15 minutes left until 9 o'clock.
Tahan's face relaxed and she instantly forgot what she had meant to say. At last the 10th day arrived, at last they could bid farewell to this damned nuclear radiation instance. Through these 10 days everything seemed to hint that no matter how one struggled the ending would not change and all would face death. Efforts day after day proved futile, everyone still kept edging closer to the end. The plight was so brutal that Tahan often felt anxious. Yet upon learning they were about to clear, she felt as if she saw hope, and all the gloom swept clean in an instant. At exactly 9 o'clock, as the mechanical voice began to speak, Tahan cut in at once, "I want to leave."
The mechanical voice resumed, "Player has cleared, confirmed departure from the current instance, yes or no?" Without hesitation Tahan chose yes.
White light flashed and the two vanished.
Chapter 104, Nuclear Radiation 7. A translucent panel appeared with these lines. Name is Tahan with real name verified. Level is 7 with experience 20/30.
First job is nutritionist with all talents at advanced and no further upgrade. Second job is soap maker with all talents at advanced and no further upgrade.
Satiety is 860/860. Cleanliness is 860/860. Stamina is 860/860.
The mechanical voice gave no points count or bonus reward and said, "You leveled up smoothly, please join round 11 at exactly 8 in the morning tomorrow."
Hearing round 11 she sighed and knew leave would be needed. The game auto logged her out and the pod opened.
She rose and called Human Resources to ask for leave. HR asked why and she, embarrassed, avoided saying games, "I have matters and cannot split myself, please approve 3 days off, I still have 15 paid leave days."
HR agreed quickly.
She hung up and thought, will the contest end in 3 days?
No one can know for sure.
She shook her head and decided to extend leave if needed until the contest ends. She opened the survival game forum.
She expected curses everywhere but not so. The neat blocks looked like a hacker attack.
Yet the thread starters were different accounts, so it was players storming the board. "I want to cry, I burned family fortune just to clear, life is hard. Across 9 instances I hoarded supplies and thought I was someone, yet I failed to reach day 10 of the 10th instance, my pride is crushed. The game is hard and our server mates are crazier, short on supplies yet still robbing, damn it, 5 people surrounded me and I died unjustly. With full stock I stayed put to clear on day 10, so disciplined, but a madman next door knew he could not clear and set a timed bomb from his storage, then the whole street exploded, unlucky me lived beside him and died too, heaven help me."
Humanity without order is terrifying and inhumane.
High combat power alone is useless and ample stock alone is useless, watch both force and stash to smile at the end,
books.
A pure tech kid cannot endure unless God tier. I only ask this, has anyone without personal storage cleared round 10, food left outdoors is drenched by radiation at once, is there a hero?
The first reply said, "Yes, me." Asked how, he said proudly, "Carried by teammate." Everyone went.
The host patched, "I mean lone strong heroes, any?"
No one answered for a long time.
Perhaps none existed, or they missed the post, or saw and did not care to answer. She closed it and kept reading. It was simple, the government grants prizes by player rank, so those who will be eliminated will kill others to boost rank. They are cursed now because too weak, if strong enough and united to eliminate all players this round some of them could lead the contest, since they only lacked stock not arms.
Everyone eliminated in a radiation instance sounds scary.
Comments followed, no words, only dots can show my mood now. After many posts she wanted the stats thread, how many survivors remain, but found only fluff. She then realized the stats would be pinned, if not on page 1 then stats were not ready. She had exited early so others might still be inside, she waited. Reloading page 1 showed a fresh pin, she opened it, latest notice, 106,000 players entered round 10, 29,700 leveled up, pass rate 28%, of them 23,000 survived and left on day 10, none fully cleared. She wondered what the scene was after day 10. She brewed barley tea and refreshed and found fresh reports, hashtag back from purgatory hashtag, on day 11 caps on attributes drop sharply, few safe houses remain. Fewer than 1,000 non-player survivors crowded into underground shelters. The underground plaza shut and refused strangers yet admitted refugee non-players, meaning only players moved above ground.
Some with ample stock could clear by materials yet must avoid other players. In the instance, even sleep is nerve-wracking. This is no time for living.
As a doctor, I relied on stamina potions to day 16 and thought glory neared. Then the system announced a new nuclear leak and airborne radiation spiked. Stamina drain doubled. I wanted to whip this broken system, so shameless. I struggled to day 13 amid countless ambushes and near deaths and finally exited. A radiation setting is not livable, flee early.
I disagree, my angle is unique. If high-level players choose to fight to the end inside but accidents kill them, then those who left would pick up the win. Say 100 leave and others die, then only 100 remain, so I left, but later found many lucky players still remained. Reading this last comment, she admitted she had feared the tragedy and purposely exited early. This is a survival contest, not a speed clear. Fewer than 30,000 players remain, she sobered. At this difficulty, next round or the one after will decide winners. After confirming other posts were fluff, she shut down and rested to prepare for the next challenge. Next morning she lay in the game pod ahead of time. The system skipped the shop and pushed her into the instance. Before she reacted, the system introduced, "This round is a survival game with conflict background, struggle with all your might." Notice 1, Island K44 on this server holds 120 players. Notice 2, once survivor rate falls below 50%, survivors meet clear condition and may request exit at any time. Below 10% counts as extreme clear and earns bonus. Survivor rate equals players remaining divided by 120 and excludes those who left on day 10. Notice 3, when stamina hits 0 the avatar dies and the player loses qualification. Notice 4, player IDs run from 1 to 120, you are player 90 and your weapon is potassium cyanide, each player has a different weapon. Notice 6, you receive a gut bag holding the poison potassium cyanide and a map of the island. The map marks all resource points where early birds can grab food, daily goods, medicines, and weapons. Notice 7, you may transfer needed non-weapons from your storage into the gut bag. After preparations, the game starts. She inspected the gut bag, a single pocket leather pouch at the hip. It did not hinder motion, but volume was tiny, roughly 20 centimeters wide, 30 high, and 10 thick. 2 water bottles would fill it, and it already held 1 cyanide vial and 1 folded map. Space is limited, weapons banned, only necessities allowed, but food, daily goods, and medicines all demand care. She immediately recalled the nutrient capsules. The nutrient capsule is a precious tier food that after use adds satiety 60, cleanliness 60, and stamina 60. Counting carefully, there were 15 capsules, enough to last several days. Talents can steadily gather food and daily goods, no need to pack many, medicines should be carried more. She packed while murmuring. Medicines vary by status. Cured, she thought, and stuffed 2 stamina potions. She also wanted to take her usual breastplate, but it was too large for the pouch, so she gave up. She answered, "Confirm." A second later the system declared, "The game begins, have fun." Chapter 105, For Survival, Part 1. Tuhan pulled the map from her sling bag while keeping silent vigilance, heart steady but eyes sweeping the woods. Luck favored her for now because she had entered early and no one else was nearby. She unfolded the map and saw resource points for food, daily goods, medicine, and weapons marked as colored dots that stood out clearly. Food was green, daily goods were blue, medicine was white, and weapons were red, all bright against the forest canvas. It looked convenient at first glance, yet when she finished counting the points she frowned as unease rose. There were 20 green dots, 20 blue dots, 10 white dots, and 50 red dots, which was a stark imbalance. Resources were scarce while weapons were plenty, a setup designed to push players into clashes. With a brief thought, she folded the map into her pouch and quickened toward the nearest red resource point. After about 3 minutes of running, she reached the target and surveyed the spot at once. A red string hung from a branch and a baseball bat dangled from the other end, swaying lightly. She craned her neck, gauging distance and leverage while sketching the motion in her head like a short drill. Sadly, she lacked advanced tree climbing, so she chose a simpler approach. She drew a deep breath, stepped back twice, then jogged and leapt, catching the handle cleanly. Things went even smoother than planned, and with a bit more force she pulled the weapon down. Holding the bat, she felt a few more layers of safety settle over her shoulders. Time was urgent and hesitation was a luxury she could not afford here. Before the crowd poured into the instance, she had to visit as many resource points as possible to build an early edge. With a weapon secured, she set her next target to a green point, meaning food to sustain stamina. Though her nutritionist class could grant bread and milk, she refused to pin fate on a talent alone. Besides, she had no drink yet, and that would surely become a problem over time. The nearest food point sat rather far, about 7 to 8 minutes away at a steady run. With no better choice, she tucked in her posture and sprinted on. Leaves formed a rustling carpet as she crossed the grove, and the sound chased her steps. Just then a tiny crack like a twig being snapped reached her ears and cut through her rhythm. She stopped at once, holding still, and listened hard to every side, letting her heartbeat slow for clarity. The stillness felt suspicious, as if the sound had been a trick of her mind. Not good. Danger ahead. Her instinct pulled tight like a bowstring, and she began to back away step by step. Long after she left, a head poked from a bush and a blaming whisper rose. "Why did you make noise for nothing? Now the prey has run." Another man straightened nearby with an awkward grin. Sorry, I did not watch the dry twigs underfoot." He muttered, "I did not expect her to be that sharp." Once she sensed wrong, she bolted without hesitation. "Anyone still alive now is no fool. Be careful, will you?" "All right, I was wrong, and next time I will hide better and stay quieter." "Hush down, heads low, and keep quiet. Someone else is coming." There were only 100 resource points, but 120 players, which meant more monks than porridge and theft ruled the field. At times several people fancied the same cache, and a brutal fight broke out, leaving the loser empty-handed. Alarmed, Tuhan ditched the old route and switched toward another food point to avoid an ambush. As time passed, she guessed most players had already entered, so she raised her guard even higher at every step. The new line proved wise, and the path flowed with no hindrance. After about 15 minutes of sweat, she arrived smoothly at the target. The branch hung far above, and no jump at human height could snag the crate even with good momentum. Under the tree, a girl in a sailor blue shirt was jumping hard, trying to grab a foam-wrapped supply box. She was a player, not a lure, with awkward posture yet bright eyes. Tuhan kept a calm face, but her hand tightened on the bat while her body primed to explode. She closed the gap in steady steps without slowing, and with footfalls light to trim stray noise. When they were about 5 meters apart, the girl heard the faint rustle and turned around. Tuhan was set to fight, yet the other's eyes flashed with joy and her voice softened into a plea. "The crate is on the branch. Could you help me get it down? I have been jumping forever and cannot reach." Tuhan paused a beat and raised an inner question. If the instance were not player only, she might have mistaken her for a naive non-player. She stayed still and asked curtly, "Why are you alone out here?" The girl slumped and said, "When I entered I lost my teammate. I want the crate first, then he can come find me." She hurried to add with fluster, "If you help I will make sure you do not lose out." Tuhan kept a stern face, for if she were ruthless she would have removed a rival on the spot and kept the whole crate. This girl was too naive, yet had survived until now, which felt puzzling. A thought flickered: how did you live to the 11th instance? The girl lifted her chin with pride. "My boyfriend is strong. As long as I have food and water, I just wait for him to come." "A strong boyfriend is fine," Tuhan said evenly, though her face showed nothing. The girl gave an awkward smile, as if she sensed her own boast was clumsy. She quickly changed topic and asked brightly, "Can you please help me take it down, please?" "It is on the branch." Let me think of a method," Tuhan answered, and fell into brief calculation. Worry flashed in the girl's eyes, while her right hand quietly slipped into her pouch like a casual move. The brag about a strong boyfriend was just to cover for the fact she had walked alone and relied on tricks. People often could not refuse a cute request, and that soft spot opened doors. A player who had reached the 11th round yet dared to present her unguarded back to a stranger was naive to a fault. A smirk tugged the girl's lip as her wrist flicked and a mini crossbow with a tranquilizer dart snapped free, then she fired without a blink. Pop! The dart sliced the air with a thin whistle as it streaked forward. As if she had eyes behind her, Tuhan sidestepped and slipped behind a trunk with a smooth flow. The sure hit turned to failure and the girl blurted in shock, how did you?
Never teamed up before, that excuse makes poor sense, Tu-Han said with a cold curl of her mouth. Standing still and waiting for a boyfriend to find you, he is not the system's kin to locate you at will. Even with a special channel given your sweet and silly act you would be dead before he arrives. If you must lie then use your head and do not make it see-through at a glance. The girl's gaze flickered then narrowed and she probed, if you know I am lying why do you not attack first? I do not want to attack women, elders or children, that is my principle, Tu-Han replied slowly, eyes locked on target, yet if provoked I have no choice. She snapped her arm and hurled the bat in a sharp line forcing the girl to dodge left. In that instant Tu-Han lunged like an arrow, knocked the crossbow from the other's grip and followed with a clean straight punch. Fear and confusion flashed in the girl's eyes as she flailed in frantic defense. Tu-Han twisted and pinned the girl's belly with a seat hold, trapping one arm while the other hand kept striking with precision. She spoke almost apologetically, I have no other option, my usual weapons were banned and I have not found a handy one so my fists will do. Bear with it a little and you will be eliminated quickly. The girl tried to endure then burst out cursing, my God you damned thing. Tu-Han answered blandly, no comment. The girl choked on words and her eyes burned with hate. She opened her mouth to bite but Tu-Han's free hand blocked her and the recoil made her bite her own tongue which hurt enough to bring tears. Your stamina is about 16% so make it quick, Tu-Han said in a tone that was not quite comfort and pressed harder to end it fast. Resentment swelled in the girl's stare like a smog yet the outcome did not change. When the bar hit empty she dissolved into a white glow that faded into the quiet trees. Thud, as the player vanished her sling bag dropped to the ground like a blunt token. You lied freely so why can I not strike back, Tu-Han sighed then picked up the bag and checked its contents. Inside were biscuits, chocolate-scented soap, bandages, a few pills, a small bottle of spring water and 3 tranquilizer darts which was a richer mix than expected. After the check she zipped the bag and tied it across her chest for quick access. Then she took the crossbow and the darts and walked toward where the bat had fallen with calm steps. When she was almost there she suddenly raised the bow and fired without a hint of doubt and the dart flew like a cold brushstroke. A low groan rose from the bushes sounding like a man gritting through pain. Tu-Han swapped a fresh dart in a blink and asked icily, enjoyed watching 2 women fight did you? Hiding to wait and profit like a fisherman without lifting a hand was too cheap a plan to tolerate. Too bad for him, she had just won almost perfectly and left no opening for a third party. From the brush a burly man came out clutching his right arm where the dart had hit and he gave a wry smile, a misunderstanding, this is all a misunderstanding. He added, I wanted the crate, when I came I saw you 2 fighting, I did not want trouble so I hid. Tu-Han did not lower her guard and the aim of the bow stayed steady like a warning held in the air. Chapter 106, Strive to Survive 2. Drop the crate. The closer to the crunch, the calmer Tu-Han became. In a flash the man's mind ran through options. He could gamble, bolt with the crate, maybe escape and keep supplies. Yet rich reward meant big risk, and his numb right arm warned that a failed sprint meant death. He could also hurl the chest at her and strike first. Either he killed and took the crate, or got knocked out in return. Choices piled up until choice itself froze. Why dawdle, hurry? Tu-Han kept urging under the tree. She refused to drag this out, since another lurker might be waiting to pounce. One after another, it would never end. The man's eyes firmed with decision. Coming down now, he said. Then he flung the supply crate at Tu-Han, slid from the tree, and sprinted away. He had reasoned it through, this was not a headhunt counting kills, so why fixate on eliminating players? His arm was numb and the opponent looked tough, so a knockout was likely. No need to make trouble for nothing. Tu-Han realized he only wanted a clean getaway. If she chased she might catch him. She had no urge to pursue. She scooped the items and left that hotspot at once. A pack on her back, a pack on her shoulder, a crate, a crossbow, and a bat in hand, she felt like a walking resource point. Anyone who saw would gladly team up to rob. The next breath 4 men surrounded her. Tu-Han stayed quiet. Not even 1 hour into the instance and she had brawled several times. Worse, the four glared at each other, blades out, air crackling. She snapped the crate open to reveal 5 loaves of sandwich bread and 5 bottles of spring water. She snatched one bottle and called out, "I forfeit the rest, you can have it." Then she tossed the crate to the two on her right and stepped back fast. The pair on the right grabbed it with joy and ran. The other two chased them, not her. Tahan did not go far. When all four were gone, she exhaled. She sat on a mat, unscrewed the cap, and drank. The calculation was simple. Kill one player and 100 remain. Secure supplies and you live more days. Between the two, gathering came first. Also, at the start most players did not know pouches would drop on death, so they stared only at resource points in crates. Thus they ignored Tahan holding 2 bags. She already had plenty and a fresh pouch, so daily needs were covered. In fact, carrying too much only drew eyes and greed. So after taking 1 bottle she left the crate, because in this round more was not better. The lighter she traveled, the freer she moved. Sitting low behind brush also hid her outline a bit. For once she could rest a moment. After about 20 minutes the system voice chimed, "Day 1 of the game, lucky survivors remaining 112. 8 died at entry, that was the cruelty here." As the line ended, a bottle of milk, a slice of black bread, and 2 handmade scented soaps refreshed in front of her. Headache. The goods were fine, the pouch was small, and nothing fit. If the little teammate were here, at least someone could help eat and drink. Lin Jing moved through the trees, always guarded against a blade from the shadows. A blue crate hung on a branch, and his face lit up. He pulled a time charge from his bag and strapped it to the trunk. His talent was advanced demolition, almost daily yielding a timed bomb. With enough supplies, clearing would be easy. Seconds later the blast boomed and the old tree fell. As he stepped for the prize, a hiss cut his cheek, a warning arrow. A youth in a medical mask stepped from behind a trunk with a crossbow and said in a muffled voice, "I could not reach the crate." "Thanks for the help. You may leave now." Lin Jing fell silent. The point was not abandoned, someone wanted it but waited for help. He had hurried for nothing and dressed another's wedding. He hated it, but had to yield. His only weapon was a rope, useless now, and his talent charge was spent. He could not fight. To be blunt, walking away alive was luck. He thought it through, bowed to reality, and retreated. Carefully. The youth did not chase. He picked up the crate and took out 10 fragrant soaps. Then he dropped the chest and left without concern. In a quiet corner he removed the mask, revealing Chengyu. Under a burning sun, Lu Tinhui's lips cracked, thirst biting hard. Instinct sharpened his search for water in streams, ravines, or pools. He heard trickling and hurried toward it. A ravine indeed. He cupped cold water and drank happily. Dizziness hit, he stumbled, and fell flat. What happened? Is the water poisoned? Terror rose. A man swayed up holding a scimitar and cut down without mercy. Lu Tinhui fought to rise, but the poison dulled his body and the blade struck. "Do not waste strength." The tone was bored. Moments later he was eliminated. The killer lifted the fallen pouch and mused, "Why brawl at resource points? Better to trap a water source and hunt players, that is fun." He hit again and waited for the next prey. On the grass, Doi Tuesday ran until she was cornered with nowhere to go. "I swear to give you everything I found, please do not kill me." The pursuer sneered, "Tempting, but I dislike dragging a woman around." "Stop babbling and hand over the pouch." He did not know the rules and thought nothing remained after a player vanished. So he had held back and let his target flee far. Now his lips cracked, strength spent, and playtime was over. Tears brimmed in Doi Tuesday's eyes. She bit her lip and tossed the pouch. "That is better." His grin turned lewd. With pouch in hand the boring game should end. Her eyes changed, and her voice turned cold. I told you not to chase me and you ignored it. I do not want early fights that sap strength. But since you insist on dying, so be it. The pursuer blinked. The prey lunged first. A dagger had somehow appeared in her right hand. The edge gleamed with killing chill. His heart skipped and he swung a broad axe without delay. They fought hard. Doi Tuesday had about 38% stamina left and snarled, I did not want to bother with you, you kept after me, you deserve it. After the reversal she ignored the axe, grabbed 2 pouches, and left. Some players decided to skip scavenging, cull a week early, and let the lucky walk out any time. Some chose to avoid conflict, hide, and wait while others killed each other, then stroll through. Some stayed flexible, bully the meek, dodge the tough, bargain, or run.
Survival itself mattered, not the manner.
With all these strategies at play, survivor counts fell steadily. By late afternoon Dahan watched belly and cleanliness values drop and happily chewed black bread, also finishing a bar of scented soap. At last both pouches barely held her daily supplies.
Half a day on she admitted that carrying 2 weapons hampered movement, one had to go.
After a pause she dropped the crossbow, pocketed the numbing darts, and kept the baseball bat in hand.
Chapter 107, Striving to Live 3.
She turned back and saw a skinny boy staggering away in terror, as if a monster chased him from behind.
Dahan sat motionless. To survive to the 11th dungeon, every player must have some last resort.
Only running with no strength left to fight looked suspicious to her. At that moment the boy, spotting someone nearby, brightened and rushed over while shouting, "Help, please help me." Dahan lifted her bat to bar the way and said coldly, "Do not come close to me," her whole air unapproachable. The boy was short and thin, looking almost like a girl.
His face anxious, he pleaded softly, "Please help me, I beg you."
"I am a woman, what can I help with? If you have time to chatter, better run a few more steps, maybe you escape." Dahan did not move.
"There is 1 pursuer and we are 2, he blurted, "beat him and split the loot evenly, okay?"
Dahan kept a straight face, thinking who is this we, and said flatly, "No."
The boy froze. He tried to bargain in a broken voice, "Can I hide behind you for a while?"
Dahan narrowed her eyes, a half smile on her lips. "Tell me, why do you insist on edging closer to me?" His expression shifted and he pretended not to get her meaning.
"You are fleeing for your life yet keep tangling with me, you stand in front of me and the pursuer never shows up. You use excuses again and again, only to stay close." Dahan snorted, "Do you fancy me and look for reasons to approach on purpose?"
Dahan did not dodge, she drew a numbing dart from her pocket and stabbed it into his neck.
In a moment his body tingled and slowed.
Dahan seized the chance and smashed her bat into his joint. Pain made him drop to the ground. At the same time the weapon in his right hand flew out of his grip. Seeing it clearly, she flared up, facing a soft little girl, "And you dare use a tri-edged dagger, are you mad?" Then the bat rained down as revenge for herself.
The boy.
A soft little girl, who, her. The ache coursing through him deepened his regret. There were dozens of female players, how did he pick the Doom Bringer?
If he could get close, stab the weak point with the triangular blade, then one-on-one he would surely win.
The plan was fine yet reality went off the rails. From start to finish she never relaxed her guard. Forget getting close, he wished they were far apart. He thought of the 2 stomach bags on the target. Before striking he felt lucky, as if he had found a fat lamb. After striking he knew he was foolish, seeing 2 bags should have told him she was not easy to provoke and he should back off.
Sadly it was too late now.
Soon the boy turned into white light and vanished.
Dahan muttered, "Why stare at me? Do you really think girls in this game are easy to bully?"
Then she picked up the 3rd stomach bag on the ground, her face vexed because the supplies were too many to hold. Thinking she might have to discard items made her heart ache faintly. Since entering the game, Doi Tuesday swore to not meddle and not waste strength. She wanted to keep most power to sprint at clearance.
The plan was good, yet wherever she went someone attacked first.
She dodged when she could, ran when she could, and when cornered fought back desperately. After half a day, she despairingly found she had gone through countless battles and felt exhausted. From her look now, she did not seem peace-loving but rather belligerent. She finally found a hiding spot to rest and think. After a while, she realized that people liked to squeeze the softest fruit, others prioritized targets that looked weak. She was a woman and seemed easier than average players, so everyone gladly struck at her. Once she saw it clearly, her mood grew more irritable. She wished to catch the others one by one and beat them. But the game had to go on. She chose a small nest to reduce fights as much as possible. Suddenly an arrow flew straight at her. Tahan saw it and fumed, slapping the arrow aside. She had not even solved the bag problem and someone offered her more supplies. She traced the line of the shot. With eyes cold as ice, trying to scare the enemy off. It did not work. 2 male players came over nonchalantly with teasing faces. The archer stared at the stomach bags with hungry eyes. Why live badly and insist on dying? Tahan sighed from the heart. The pair started, shaken by her aura. Soon they recovered. One sneered, "Graduate of the acting academy, you act so real that I almost fell for it." The other grunted, "Of course we act only when victory is assured." In other words, blind eyes and foolish hearts. You picked the wrong opponent. Tahan rolled up her sleeves ready to brawl. The 2 men. What was with this girl? They were clearly on the upper hand, yet she showed no fear and only looked resigned. The opponent was extremely calm, so calm that she countered with mind games. The first speaker changed tone. "Forget it, we are in a good mood today, we spare you once," then half-dragged his teammate away. Tahan remained blank-faced and thought who spared whom. Since the tone-deaf one left on his own, she could not be bothered to chase. She hefted the third bag with her left hand, gripped the bat with her right, and walked off in a random direction. On the other side, the dragged teammate stared wide as the good situation slipped away, utterly baffled. "I do not trust her, I trust my sixth sense," the other said gravely. "My heart is racing and my nerves are jerking. It feels like if we stay something very bad will happen. In short, better safe than sorry, let us switch targets." The teammate fell silent. Several times earlier they had nearly died, and thanks to those reminders they had backed out in time. So he accepted at once. Only that. The 2 men stared at each other for a long while without finding a new answer. Dusk thickened and the prowlers dwindled. Maybe they sought camps or had been knocked out. Only now did Tahan realize that while she worried over food, daily goods, and medicine, she forgot the fire starter, though she had just found 2 more bags. Yet after checking the bags she fell silent. The 2 men had not brought a fire starter either. Night cut vision and hampered movement. Without firelight it would be troublesome. After a thought she stood, shouldered all her wealth, and went to search for a campfire. Following the river all day, at last she felt lucky. After about 15 minutes she saw flickering light ahead. She rejoiced and hurried over. A young girl sat by the flames, wary-faced, playing with a dagger, ready to fight at any time. From a distance Tahan called out, "May I borrow a lighter?" The girl bristled at once. "I can trade supplies for it." Tahan raised her third bag. She stated firmly, "I must borrow fire. If peace fails then we fight," her tone full of pressure. The young girl. "Are you a demon?" The girl glanced again at the 3 bags on Tahan and softened. "If you only need a spark then take it quickly, keep your supplies." By chance Tahan noticed the girl also had 1 bag on her and 3 bags by her side. She understood at once. "Met a lot of annoying guys, right?" "Are you not the same?" the girl shot back. "Yes, I am almost driven mad." Tahan held a wood chip into the fire to catch a flame and answered idly, "As one bamboo falls another shoots up, cut one and many more come." If the personal stash were allowed I would have used grenades already. That line hit the young girl squarely. She had been harassed all day. By then Tahan had her fire. She rose and said coolly, "I will set a campfire 500 meters from here. If trouble comes at night you can find me for help. Let me be blunt, with bad intentions I will not show mercy." Tahan added lightly, "A favor owed must be repaid sooner or later. Take it or not, up to you." Then she walked away. The young girl, Doi Tuesday, wavered. After careful thought, she still shook her head. What about girls? Girls can also deceive. Those 3 bags include one taken from a female player. The gentle mask almost fooled her. Doi Tuesday resolved to trust no one. The author speaks their mind. To Han. Sighed, there are always people crossing mountains to bring me heads and supplies. Think for me a little, I cannot carry any more. Chapter 108, Striving to Survive 4. The rules state that once survivors drop below 50%, any survivor who meets the pass condition may exit the instance at will. When survivors fall under 10%, that counts as an extreme clear and grants a bonus reward. Thus the system does not care how players are culled. To endure to the end, there are 2 broad paths. First, keep hunting competitors until survivors fall under 10%. Second, stock supplies, hide, and wait for rivals to be knocked out. Each path has pros and cons. The first demands high-intensity fights where prey and hunter swap roles. 1 lap sinks you, yet if smooth the instance may end within 48 hours. The second keeps fights light. You consume supplies while you wait, no matter an enemy's strength. A day of grime and hunger drains stamina, but hoarding paints a target. Fail to hide in a siege can kill you. While she weighed this, a simple male voice asked, "Hey, got food?" Han sensed someone and snapped her head up. "I asked you, why ignore me?" The youth looked guileless and blunt. She slid a hand into her belly bag and gripped a numbing needle. Anyone alive now is not simple, trusting he is harmless is self-harm. "Why must I feed you?" she asked coldly. He puffed his chest. "You give food and I serve as your guard. I guarantee your safety." "No need," she said, "I like to wait alone, please leave now." His face hardened and he declared, "I will take food either by hire or by robbery." She went silent. Half an hour ago she bargained for fire, half an hour later the roles reversed. "If you can, try," she said without fear. He fell quiet. The script felt wrong. She said flatly, "I want to be alone, if nothing else then go." She had fought all day, was dog-tired, and had no spare strength. Guns were trouble to handle anyway. His expression shifted as he weighed gains and losses. As his back faded she muttered, "Alone at night means no watch. How do I sleep? Did Chengdu get lost? Why is he still gone?" Meanwhile Doi Tuesday hit trouble. For belly bags meant 3 heads taken, so one-on-one foes might avoid her. Yet many still lacked supplies. After failing to bargain with her, someone hid nearby and rallied others, and a 4-person squad formed. They carried a machete, a monk staff, firearms, and a longbow, a fair mix of ranged and melee. The monk staff is a Shaolin hallmark famed since the tale of 13 staff guardians, and a longbow is a tall bow that allows a deep draw. The leader whispered, "After we drop the target each of us gets 1 bag, so work together and finish it." He smiled outwardly yet sneered inside. Once he seized a bag he would bolt to prevent a turncoat brawl. Seeing people all around, Doi Tuesday froze, then calmed and arched a brow. "Afraid my trophies are too few, so you brought more heads to me." Bullets and arrows flew at once. Sweat slicked her palms. She wanted to bluff strength, but without a private stash a 1 versus 4 is hard. An idea struck. She flung a belly bag out. She meant to shove a stupor and dash away, but the gunman snatched the bag and sprinted off without a glance. She was speechless. The temp squad too. Kill her and each gets 1 bag, thus he fled with resolve, and the other 3 cursed his disloyalty while knowing they might choose the same. 3 against her was no guaranteed win. Anyone alive now is tough. She sighed and bolted. "Chase," the leader snapped. She ran ahead. The 3 chased like it was to the death. Han was dining when someone ran up gasping with a flustered face. She was mute. "How many times today already? Could night please be quiet? A 9 to 5 is hard and this trash game demands round-the-clock overtime." The runner drew close and she started. It was the girl who lent her fire. Doi Tuesday stopped by the fire, panting. 3 men are hunting me and will be here soon. You said you would help. Block 1 and I will handle 2. Afterward you can have all their bags. Outwardly Han nodded. 3 in total, no problem. Truth is she alone could finish it. She drew 2 numbing needles to receive the enemy. Doi Tuesday lowered her gaze and stayed wary. 3 men carry little and cannot be shaken. Begging help is her only move, yet this woman may not be kind. Perhaps she is leaving a tiger's den for a wolf's lair, still she would gamble for a way out.
The hunters arrived fast.
Seeing 2 girls, the 3 blinked, then their eyes locked on 6 belly bags and their hearts raced.
One held a machete, one a monk's staff, one a longbow. The bowman closed, tossed the bow, and drew a dagger to grapple.
Tohan used no trick, only speed and ruthlessness. Her bat smashed straight for mutual damage.
Doi Tuesday gripped her dagger reverse and bravely fought too.
The machete fell, she slipped and stabbed a leg, the staff swept, she sunk and stabbed an ankle. The melee knotted into a brawl. The 2 men grew alarmed, most of their strikes missed, only a few landed, while the women's daggers scored wounds everywhere. One man even gained a bleeding status. They had thought female players were weak and capped, now they doubted life. The 2 only felt uneasy, but the one dueling Tohan turned pale. Trading blows drained his stamina tick by tick, and in a blink nearly 40% was gone.
He wanted to grab her collar and roar, "Why, we both hit weak points with no guard, why does she seldom eat hits, is this cheating?" Still he was seasoned, and he steadied his breath to think. He rasped, face twisted, "What level are you, with this health? At least 600 or 700. Guess, if you guess right I will tell you," she teased for once. He fell dumb, with health like a boss how could he fight, like he had trotted miles just to donate a head. "Deal," she murmured, "I give you 1 belly bag, you betray now and help kill the other 2. "If they die will I live," he refused. She pouted, "Do you think you live now? Whether they die is unknown, fight me and you surely die." He choked. "Finish early and rest early," she pressed. "Do you swear to let me go?" he asked. "Dawdle and you die now," she said. He wiped cold sweat and gritted, "I am in." He jumped in at once, the leader brightened thinking help had come. The next second his belly was stabbed by an ally. He stared in shock. Tohan stepped in and said, "He surrendered to my persuasion to hasten the end," then her bat came down hard. Persuasion is a skill. Doi Tuesday was stunned, then she surged and struck in turn. The fight ended quickly. 2 hunters turned to white light with regret. Now the 3 survivors stood apart, each wary of the other. The authors aside. Tohan, "If you do not give, I take." The bargain shattered and the brawl began. The youth, "If you do not give, I take." The bargain shattered and he turned and left. Well, he only said it casually after all. Chapter 109, Lifeline 5. Tohan ignored the wariness around her, tossed the 3rd stomach pouch, and said, "Payment first." The turncoat caught the pouch and relaxed a little. Paying up meant he probably would not break his word. Even so he asked warily, "Can I leave?" "Hurry up and go." Tohan waved impatiently. He backed away step by step, staying alert in secret. Once a gap opened, he turned his back and sprinted like mad. Doi Tuesday frowned, "You are just letting him go." If he had bad thoughts, knocking him out would be better. Doi Tuesday replied. Tohan only showed disgust, troublesome. Doi Tuesday. "You want to shake the pursuers, he wants supplies, I want the extra pouches gone, now everyone is happy, what is wrong with that?" Tohan flopped down and said lazily, "Also, remember to carry the 2 pouches on the ground when you leave." Her tone sounded like asking someone to take out trash. Doi Tuesday was annoyed, the girl did not want pouches, did she expect her to want them, for pouches already drew eyes, after the fight there was even one more. Still, the person before her truly helped. Doi Tuesday could only pick up the 2 pouches and leave in anger. With fewer bags, Tohan felt unusually cheerful and light. In fact, she had not said this. An hour earlier she had sorted her kit, sent away some food and daily goods, kept drinks in the pouch, and missed no medicine. "Important supplies must be in my own hands," Tohan declared. She closed her eyes to rest, planning a short nap. Her mind dimmed. At dawn a sharp smoky smell suddenly rolled in. In the next second she snapped awake. The forest was ablaze, the fire huge and spreading in all directions. After a quick think her face changed.
Carrying all her belongings, she ran hard away from the flames. Soon she heard a quarrel ahead. Stealing a glance, she saw people not fleeing but brawling on the spot. One man argued brazenly, "You think running works? Are you an Olympic athlete or a trained marathoner? Better to PK players and push survival under 50%.
Do you even know how many have died and still want PK?
Basic arithmetic is needed. On day 1 at least 30 or 40 died.
Try a little harder and the clear condition is met. NK Books."
The tangled player flared and choked for words. The foe was stubborn and conservative, nothing got through, he had to face him head-on, likely planning to finish quick and run. She thought how maddening it would be to have a spoiler jump out while fleeing. Luckily she was not that unlucky. Even so she sighed, the fire was swelling too fast and might reach here soon.
After another stretch the blaze roared, heat radiated at her back.
Then her eyes fixed, a familiar figure stood ahead, with trees and weeds cleared all around him, forming a firebreak.
Tahan stopped without thinking. She frowned in doubt. "Did you set this fire?" "How could I?"
Zhang Dui was defeated by her imagination.
"Good then." Tahan exhaled and sprinted harder.
Holding her breath, she dove into the firebreak. Soon the flames were licking at its edge. Inside the safe ring with a reliable teammate near, Tahan calmed down. She sat on the ground, panting without grace.
"Exhausted?" Zhongdui asked gently.
Day 1 I was targeted nonstop and fought several punks. At night I slept poorly and dozed a bit. At dawn I saw thick smoke and have run till now.
Tahan complained.
Zhongdui's lip twitched, his heart skipped a beat.
Life apart was not easier. Someone should remember she had a teammate.
Outwardly he coughed and kept a serious face. "What happened after you entered the game? Tell me."
Tahan recounted her tragic route.
As a female player most people tried to rob her. Yet her target stats were high, the robbers were killed instead, and stomach pouches littered the ground. She hated to throw them away and could not carry them all, so she worried greatly. Others might scoff, but Zhongdui nodded in sympathy. Small pouch space is truly troublesome. He looked worn out, clearly plagued by the same problem.
Tahan glanced at her teammate. Her gaze froze. The
guy was carrying a gigantic mountaineering pack.
Tahan. She felt betrayed by an ally.
Beside her Zhongdui added, "If I had not been lucky and traded for this pack, I would also be fretting over those pouches." Tahan groaned faintly with unclear meaning. Sensing danger he smoothly changed the topic. "Rest a bit, wait for the fire to die, then move." He said casually, "I raided some daily supply crates, counter-killed 2 world players, traded for a pack, and scouted the area."
"How did you think of building a firebreak?" Tahan asked.
"I saw campfires last night and the idea came."
Zhongdui answered. "So that was it." Tahan asked no more and rested quietly.
Zhongdui's gaze lowered, his face turned ice-cold for a moment. If he were alone he would have used arson as well, the simplest and most effective way to cull rivals. His look held weary resignation, thinking that teammates were a hassle. Even so his lips curved. The blaze raged on.
Heat blew back into the ring, sweat beaded her brow and palms. Smoke spread everywhere in thick waves.
She comforted herself, better a little scorching in smoke than dying in a sea of fire. Shortly after 7 in the morning the system droned, lucky players remaining, 59, survival rate under 50%, clear condition met.
Any lucky player not in combat may request exit at any time.
Quite a few were burned to death. Zhongdui said slowly, "Cutting a firebreak is not easy.
First you must be far enough to have time to clear brush.
Next the personal stash is frozen, proper tools may be lacking, and efficiency drops hard.
Players have only been in for 1 day, medicine is limited. If trouble strikes within a day, even pills will not hold long."
Tahan said grimly, "The fire started at dawn when minds were foggy."
Most people had just woken and reacted slower than usual. So with good timing for arson, deaths are not unjust. Zhongdui sighed.
Tahan fell silent and ate breakfast from her pouch.
Zhongdui sat and waited for the fire to burn through. At 9 the system spoke again, day 2 of the game, lucky players remaining, 33. At once 4 bottles of milk, 1 slice of black bread, 1 slice of butterfloss bread, 1 slice of chocolate cake, 3 bars of handmade soap, and 2 bars of lilac soap appeared before Han. My pouch is full, stash them with you. Han bargained. Okay. Zhongdui agreed readily. Throw these away. Zhongdui said crisply, rocket launchers are not allowed in here, and armor-piercing rounds are useless. Compared side by side, Han felt her second class still did well. Time trickled on and the fire did not wane. Then Han was startled by a new status: you have inhaled too much toxic gas, poisoning is active, 1 stamina will be lost every 5 minutes. She computed fast, 1 lost every 5 minutes meant 12 an hour and 288 a day. Last time in the radiation dungeon it was similar, but then she had a personal stash, now there was only a pouch. Her scalp tingled at the math. Luckily she had brought vitality pills. She did not need to endure long and harsh conditions, she only had to outlast the rest. Thinking that, she relaxed. The fire burned for a day and a night and still raged. Next morning the system announced, day 3 of the game, lucky players remaining, 25. Then a prompt sounded by her ear: you have inhaled more toxic gas, status upgraded to moderate poisoning, 1 stamina will be lost every 3 minutes. That meant 480 a day. Thanks to several vitality doses, Han felt safer, so her mood stayed calm. Zhongdui was surprised, still 25, that is higher than I expected. A survival rate under 10% counts as an extreme clear and grants extra rewards. The dungeon started with 120 players, which means only 12 clear slots. The clear difficulty is truly high. Zhongdui sighed softly. Chapter 110, Strive to Live 6. Lucky players remaining are fewer than 20 and the count is updating constantly. Han downed a vitality potion, returned to peak state, and happily saw the fire shrinking. She could leave now if she wished, but she calmly stuffed the new supplies into her teammate's pack. After drinking, Zhongdui pondered, then casually disassembled the newly received armor-piercing rocket. Han glanced, froze, and quickly asked, afraid a launcher at a weapon point makes tossed rounds easy loot for others. Just in case, he said while ruining the round, and clapped with a satisfied smile. Then he turned to speak, but his eye caught something and he shouted, careful, as he yanked her aside. She blinked at the sudden move, then saw a low-flying arrow pin the spot she had stood. A black liquid gleamed on the tip and looked deadly. Her face tightened and she raised her guard. She sniffed the short arrow and smelled a musky tang. The tip is poisoned, said Zhongdui coldly. She also spotted a long tube shape peeking from rocks in the distance. A beat later another dart hissed at her and she slipped aside in time. You okay? He asked while rushing over. She nodded and murmured, a blowpipe. He understood at once. In Wuxia people blow needles from bamboo, and in some tropics hunters use pipes. Masters shoot over 100 meters and paint darts with toxin to drop prey. Untrained folk cannot shoot well, yet here the line distance was at least beyond 40 meters and accuracy was high, so the hidden shooter was skilled. Worse, he stayed unseen to ambush. Far range with poison and precision is vexing. He hides behind lava rock, and a crossbow is not a gun. A squeeze then a bullet, you cannot dodge that, he sighed. Then we face him head on, said Han while gripping her bat. A third dart came. The ambusher targeted only her, though there were 2 opponents, and she surged forward. He retreated at once, 2 steps forward 2 back. If she stood he also stood and raised the pipe stubbornly to fire. She was stymied because she had dumped her bow and now lacked any ranged tool. On foot the foe was nimbler, so she could not catch up. He narrowed his eyes to aim, but bow-like weapons have effective ranges, and at about 50 meters shots would only waste arrows. They stalemated. Lucky players remaining are 15. They could not tell whether 2 people died together or wounds forced quits. 3 left. She counted inwardly and hunted for a plan. Split and pinch front and back. He breathed. She nodded. Then she slouched on the rocks, feigning idleness. He said evenly, he is scared to cross. You sit here and I will fetch water. Then asked louder, alone will be fine, right? He is just a coward, relax and go. She raised her voice to taunt. He left without delay and she sat calm with a provoking stare. The hunter stayed still and waited because the burn had stripped all cover, either stand in place or step into range. After judging he gambled. She was likely the last living female in the instance, so who else to remove? He puffed out 5 darts in one shot and the dense spread was hard to dodge. She slipped 2 and took 3, a grunt sounded as she was hit and he smirked for the poison, yet within 10 seconds his smile froze because the strike barely mattered to her. He could not fathom this heavy health and guessed she had been clearing since the beginning. He was right and stood dazed. Then Chengdui lunged and drove a harsh punch. The hunter fought to retreat, but somehow Tu Han had closed in and jabbed a numbing needle into his arm and quickly injected. "Ah," he screamed. She emptied one vial and still felt it lack, so she stabbed another into his right thigh and smiled. "You cannot run." Together they erased the ambusher. "What medicine was that?" he asked after tidying up. A hint had lit in his mind. She chuckled and added, "Do not get ideas, the darts are all used," and she wondered what regret he had shown. 2. More must be removed and she felt the game would end today. Meanwhile Doi Tuesday hit trouble. To avoid the blaze she followed a brook and an arrow hissed from behind. She dodged but not fully and Tu grazes cut arm and face. The wounds tingled and her motion slowed. A smiling man approached with mild looks while planning to take her bag and then grenade her out. "Throw me the bag," he demanded, and she showed unwillingness by reflex. "That is right," he chirped and grabbed it, too happy to notice her faint smile and 2 steps back. He opened to count profit and froze because inside were 6 high-energy charges and nothing else. His fingers jolted to throw but too late. A roar ripped away 7/10 of his health. "I have a second profession," she sneered and finished him. Before turning to White Light he yelled, "Second profession is great, I have one." 2. But he had not guessed her craft tied to explosives. She did not move and muttered alone, "Lose then lose, why babble, annoying," then sat to bite a recovery pill. At 3 in the afternoon the system announced, "Lucky players remaining are 12, survival rate is 10%, congratulations on completing the extreme challenge. You receive a bonus reward. All remaining lucky players are teleported out." White light flashed and Tu Han with Chengdui left the instance. Name, Tu Han, real name verified. Level 7 with experience of 24/30. Profession 1, nutritionist with all high-grade talents and no further growth. Profession 2, soap maker with all high-grade talents and no further growth. Fullness 860 of 860. Cleanliness 860 of 860. Stamina 860 of 860. The system erased point bounties and offered the same clear bonus as before with 2 choices, experience plus 5. D. Raise the caps of fullness, cleanliness and stamina by 20 each. C. Receive a medicine chest for resupply. D. Receive a valuable grand bundle of food and daily goods. With 24/30 experience, picking a would level right at next round and waste a free full restore, so she skipped A and chose B and C after a brief way. Stats became fullness 880 of 880, cleanliness 880 of 880, stamina 880 of 880. The system said, "You have leveled, please join round 12 at 8 in the morning tomorrow." Her face grew solemn, and no matter the foes to come she would fight to the end. With that thought her eyes turned firmly bright. The author adds that heavy health is an online term for players with massive hit points. Chapter 111, Striving to Survive 7. 2 pin posts sit on top. The first is a stats notice saying 29,700 players join round 11, 12,100 leveled up, the pass rate is 41%, and 2,976 cleared. The second announces that round 12 is the final showdown and details are inside. Tu Han taps in to read. The main floor urges everyone to go all out to survive until they truly cannot. The final showdown is an endless survival mode where the remaining lucky players face heavy challenges like scarce supplies, beast ambushes, and brutal weather. When stamina hits 0, the contestant loses eligibility. Final ranking follows knockout order, the longer you live the higher you place. Note 1, players enter different servers and fight alone. Note 2, players may request a party to enter the same server, but a squad holds at most 3 and you must apply before 6 in the evening or it is void. More players on one server means higher difficulty. Note 3, during the match the system will not report the number of survivors. Please keep breaking limits for better results. After reading, several thoughts flash through Tu Han's mind. Since it is endless survival, she may spend all items stored in her personal stash. If she enters solo, she must face every challenge alone, and how long she lasts depends on skill. Yet if she joins a team, she must beware of stabs in the back for loot. The hidden survivor count only fuels fighting to the very end.
Her mind turns complicated, she cannot decide, she shakes her head and opens earlier threads. Many posts are pure size with little useful intel, yet the final showdown thread gains more and more comments. People share that among 12 dungeons only the zombie one matched their build and they cried, others ask for a live broadcast to watch the top players, some debate solo or party, someone asks how on earth your stash is still not empty, which makes Tahan chuckle.
A private message arrives from Chungyu.
Her first reaction is confusion since she takes partying for granted as they have been on the same server, then she freezes and drifts off. When did teaming with him become a given? The old her would have gone solo without hesitation, but now after reading the rules she only thinks from the two-person angle.
She cannot explain why.
After waiting about 5 minutes without reply, he asks if she is there. She answers, of course we should party, otherwise what if you run out of daily supplies? He is struck dumb, for without supplies pros only chew pills to hold on and then await death, yet deep down he feels joy since he had braced for the worst. She adds, please file the party request. Her tone seems cool but her heart is not calm. He agrees and the system records it. He thinks that after the contest ends they will lack reasons to contact, so maybe they should meet, but before he can type she sends again, after more than 10 days straight of gaming I am mentally spent so I will log off first and you should rest early, then she vanishes, leaving him speechless. She closes the forum and sits dazed. In truth she rests well and is not that tired, she just wants quiet time alone to ask why she is willing to team up. She breathes deep and reasons, I provide food and daily items, Chungyu provides force protection and meds, 1 + 1 is greater than 2 so together we last longer. After several rounds we are used to cooperating, though clear-headed and creative we still might miss things. She tries to argue with facts yet does not believe a word because the earlier her would still pick solo and accept early exit as her own fault, but now teaming with him feels natural. She sighs and admits it is simple, she just wants to play with him. Accepting she is no longer a lone wolf she lowers her head, opens her laptop to watch a film and shift mood. Wondering how others are doing she opens the Survival Mania forum. The front page shows big pin threads. One welcomes survivors to post proof photos for a reward of 100 lemons and member title, another asks for trash operations you met in the game, a third invites reports of dates and reasons for your knockouts.
She opens the first.
Floor 1 says squeezing into the last fight was hard and their stash is down to a quarter of peak, with a dull ache in the heart, photo attached. Floor 4 claps and admits they wrongly judged a top dog as a weak chicken and almost died, others who provoked got ground into the dirt and he escaped by luck, photo attached. Floor 11 claims the fiercest players met so far are women and that people who belittle them should meet a queen, photo attached. Floor 22 adds their report and seeks a small teammate for the last dungeon while begging no sabotage, photo attached. After reading floors she counts about 40 survivors on the forum, not even counting lazy members like her, and marvels that the forum deserves its name. Since the last fight is endless solo she guesses she may be thrown into the wild, so she reviews outdoor survival guides and watches 2 related films. At 8 in the morning contestants log in on time to begin the last round. A blink later she is inside the dungeon. The system explains that this round is primal jungle survival, live with all your might until you cannot, note that 0 stamina means death and disqualification, have fun. After hearing the rules she scans the scene and on turning finds Chungyu standing right beside her.
Chapter 112, Endless Mode 1.
Tahan thought that standing side by side felt new, like opening a whole new world.
You? She began, then a distant rumble rolled in. She
looked and saw a herd of elephants charging, her heart pounding as her words vanished.
Move!
Chengdu grabbed her hand and bolted at random.
While running she yelled, rocket launcher.
She felt sprinting could not beat a stampede. The beasts were truck-sized, each step like 3 of theirs.
Without looking back he shouted, fire hazard.
She wanted to say wrestling with elephants meant being minced, better to burn the trees. Their clothes were caked in mud and the human scent was masked.
The herd thundered past like a train. When danger ebbed, Chengdu exhaled.
He eyed the mud, then the cleanliness stat, and said, I did not pack bath clothes or daily items.
Me neither, but there are ways.
She spoke while shaking off mud.
Escaping the elephants is already good.
He tried a perfumed soap.
Daily items usually clean you on use.
He had never been this muddy, so he was unsure. Thankfully, one bar washed off the mud and their clothes turned neat again. He glanced over, wanting to ask if she regretted the party, then decided not knowing was bliss. These games favor high walls, stockpiles, and kingship.
Let's scout and choose a base, he suggested. She agreed.
The forest was hushed, sun shards dripped through leaves. Watching as she walked, she found many usable resources. She saw a round ground berry, sweet and crisp per the notes.
It could be candied on skewers, tangy and crisp.
She secretly tagged it as a reserve food. Suddenly he halted and frowned. She nearly bumped his back. A small marsh lay ahead, wet and overgrown.
Sedges and moss lined the edges. Those were fine.
The worst was a faint strange odor, and she tensed. Rotting bodies in marshes can vent toxic gas. At once he warned, see the tiny spiders, bright shells, likely venomous. While there is no wind, we should hurry.
They clasped hands and withdrew. After a stretch she wanted to pull away, yet the quiet bond held and she kept holding. His lips lifted, then he coughed and said, build on a plain, wide and easy to work. Stay near woods and water for hunting, water, and firewood.
Books. Rocket launchers spark fires, keep flammables away from camp.
Urgent task, get out of the forest. She analyzed, if not, clear a patch, though that is a chore.
Worse if a hidden hazard shows after clearing.
He mused. She chose a direction, this way. Half an hour later they heard a brook. He arched a brow, we found water.
She smiled modestly with a hint of pride. She had walked east to avoid circling, finding water by chance, and kept that to herself. They went on and the plants grew thicker, the canopy heavier. Light dimmed on the floor. Beside the stream frogs croaked.
She snapped a lighter on.
One look almost made her drop it. A few frogs were odd, with glassy skin that showed their organs and veins, and her hairs rose.
Glass frogs, harmless,
he explained and took the lighter.
The flames swept and landed on a gaudy frog. His face hardened, see that pale green one, a poison dart frog, extremely toxic.
Though only about 1.5 to roughly 6 centimeters, it is among the deadliest.
Poison dart frogs are also very pretty.
She added, in nature, the prettier it looks the likelier it hides venom.
It was a famed killer.
This instance is strange, elephants, miasma, and poison frogs right away. She had beaten many instances, but primeval jungle meant danger on all sides.
Either way, leave here first. He held the lighter left and her hand right, backing away. Do you have trypophobia? He asked.
She answered calmly, if the ground were covered in pills, I would be fine.
He had no retort.
Without turning she said, the killer frogs block us, so detour.
The brook is long, follow it to leave. We are idle enough to try. He replied. Plan set, they moved.
They threaded past the frogs with care.
But fate is fickle. Her face shifted, watch out. In the same breath he cried. Danger! They dropped flat together. Trees beside them burst and fired little bullets. Her heart hammered and slowly eased. She now caught the so-called bomb trees. The name fits, they self-explode. They blast not to harm but to launch seeds. They shoot seeds as far as 150 meters, a wild trick. When all was quiet they lifted their heads and scanned. Safe again, they shared a wry smile. Hard to guard against, tougher than players. She said.
Facing humans sparked caution, but unknown flora and fauna baffled her.
He sighed, rest a bit, the road was too risky. Tiny errors could bloom into calamity, and vigilance drains, so rest was needed.
She checked stats and found a steep cleanliness drop of 2 to 3 dozen points. In this round, cleanliness burned at 2 to 3 times the usual rate. She did not know if the jungle did it or the devs tuned numbers.
No wonder the final round is hard.
She said, without knowledge and good stats we would have died several times. I had dreamed of endless mode lasting with heaven and earth, but it seems tough now.
He said. Daily items rely on talent-based supplies here.
With huge burn and weak resupply, a knockout is only a matter of time.
Early on the drop was slow, now it is 2 to 3 times faster and truly thorny. She side-eyed him, they say round 12 decides winners, yet we could grind forever and never die, do the devs feel no pride? He laughed and let it go. The author voiced a thought. What is face, can you eat it? Chung-do quipped.
Tahan propped her chin, if we speed it up and still play to eternity, the coder boy will be very surprised.
The coder boy sighed, do not laugh, your smile scares me. Chapter 113, Endless Forms 2.
After scouting the terrain once, they finally found a place that seemed safe enough to make camp. After a short walk they both stopped at once. In the distance a pack of wild wolves was hunting a black bear. The black bear was tall and powerfully built, a casual swipe sent a gray wolf flying. The smell of blood spread quickly. Tahan thought she was watching a live broadcast of the animal world. Chung-do took her hand and gently pulled her aside. The meaning was that they should go this way and not get involved. Tahan nodded and followed. To avoid drawing attention she kept silent the whole time. Even a place called relatively safe was hard for her to find. Chung-do was quiet and stern-faced as if calculating a solution. Tahan searched for a suitable spot to set camp. A brook murmured, a silly rabbit hopped to them and calmly drank. She thought if her mood were different it might have become roasted rabbit already. She was about to look away when a strange flash flickered.
In the next second the rabbit fell and seemed to stop breathing. Electric eel.
Tahan uttered slowly, her face turned grim.
Though it looked like an eel and got that name, it actually belonged to the knifefish family. Even facing large creatures it could shock them unconscious, such as a horse or a buffalo. A danger like that hiding silent in the stream meant anyone who wandered close would be unlucky.
Tahan again realized that danger was everywhere. Chung-do kept a straight face. I am surprised, with attacks this frequent how many players survived the first day. Tahan agreed, if every campsite is equally dangerous then we just pick one. Once we set fences and traps we will feel a bit safer. She paused and added, also make a clean firebreak ring. Chung-do looked helpless, a rocket launcher easily started fires and there was little he could do. Tahan gazed afar and at last spotted, there is a small birch grove over there, the trees are sparser than here, let us camp there. Chung-do doubted that if he said no they might split up. With her decisiveness she could still solo even in a party dungeon. To avoid tragedy he answered firmly, okay. So it was settled. They walked as she pointed and after about 15 minutes reached the birch grove. The trees were not dense and only some weeds grew around. Tahan rummaged her inventory and recalled she had brought a tang saber that could chop. Chung-do offered to take the heavy work.
Books. Tahan blinked, a teammate whose shoulders burdens was indeed well chosen. She accepted the plan and began pulling weeds by hand in a plain and direct way. Chung-do rolled up his sleeves and started felling trees. Time slipped by. After 2 hours they rested under the birches. Just clearing a patch cost a lot of effort. Chung-do sipped bottled water and looked drained. Slowly, it will come.
Tahan's voice held rare weariness. She took out butter and floss bread to chew and often drank a sip of milk.
Share some with me. Chung-do asked bluntly. The bread looks easier to eat. He answered intently. Noon was quiet and idle like a peaceful May. Ah!
Suddenly Chung-do cried out and drew a dagger to stab near his ankle.
What happened? Tahan was still chewing and did not understand.
The dagger jabbed several times and then stopped.
She now saw a black ant on the ground. It was tiny and ordinary yet they had underestimated it.
His status had changed to belly firmness 95%, cleanliness 92%, stamina 98%, good condition but poisoned.
A calm lunch still turned into trouble and Tahan was speechless.
But Chengdu swallowed an antidote pill and kept eating as if nothing had happened. In the coming days, being attacked for no clear reason is common, get used to it. Tahan took a cold sip of milk and did not wish to get used to that. Do you notice long heavy labor now burns belly firmness at 2 to 3 times the past rate? Chengdu spoke half-idly. Tahan finished the bottle and said coolly, this dungeon is meant to drain supplies. Everything stockpiled since entering the game must shine here. Lunch ended and they buried themselves again in work to cut trees and weed. Near early afternoon the weeding was done. Tahan looked around and saw another weed patch far away. She decided to clear it tomorrow. Then she shaved bark with a dagger and began driving stakes. Pushing without pause and working together, they finally cleared a patch before sunset. Though not large, they were very satisfied. Chengdu declared, find some stones for a campfire, eat dinner, and we can end today. Tahan sat on the ground and pondered. Suddenly she asked, with a firebreak in place, can we burn the forest? If a torch could wipe out all flora and fauna, they would have no worries. Chengdu was serious. I thought of it, but I doubt the system would bug. In a primeval forest, a single torch burning it all would be a joke. Let us try. Tahan insisted. They set stones and after dinner finished the prep. Chengdu told his teammate to act. His expression shifted. I almost forgot, you still have nearly 40 drums of heavy fuel oil. Right. This is the final battle anyway, spending all stock is fine. She splashed oil onto kindling and grass, then took out a lighter. At that moment the mechanical system voice sounded by their ears with rare gravity, warning, warning, your act may cause severe unknown consequences, suspension advised. Tahan froze and announced, the system forbids it. What do you mean? Chengdu frowned. She handed him the lighter to try himself. As soon as he sparked, the same warning rang out. If it could cause severe unknown consequences, I still want to try once. He was tempted. Tahan ignored it and said evenly, if the system disallows it, then we will not burn. She did not fancy courting death. Chengdu felt deep regret. Night fell and the flames flickered, the campfire cracked now and then to highlight the silence. Moonlight spilled like water. Chengdu was about to ask if she needed a blanket when Tahan had already produced a tent and a sleeping bag. She waved, come here. He sighed softly. She was so capable that he had no chance to perform, but he still slipped into the tent quickly. He felt a stir and meant to speak when she said seriously, we need a night watch, each takes half. Do you want midnight or near dawn? Chengdu fell mute. She truly was single by sheer ability. He answered stiffly, either is fine. Then you take the first half and I take near dawn. Tahan decided fast, then patted his shoulder and said cheerfully, I will sleep first, do your best. Chengdu stared as she fell asleep without a moment of doubt, and within minutes her breathing deepened. This girl really, with such lovely moonlight, should they not sit shoulder to shoulder and talk? How could she sleep? He was choked and finally could only poke another piece of wood into the fire. He suddenly remembered something, paused, and looked at her. At first when they partied she still could not sleep while sharing space, only when alone did she rest easy, yet now with two of them she slept so quickly. Did that not show trust between them? Thinking so, the corner of his mouth rose despite himself and the smile from his heart could not be hidden. The night passed in silence. Near dawn she stiffened awake and sprang up. You kept watch all night without rest. Sorry, I overslept. Why did you not wake me? Chengdu yawned lazily. We can change now. Sit here, I will make up sleep. Okay, leave it to me. Tahan accepted solemnly. She propped her chin and drifted, feeling that she was very strong, so strong that many wanted to cling, yet this was the first time she was shielded by another and the feeling was strangely new. The author cut in to ask how long single. Tahan arched a brow and asked whether that was a question about her age. Chengdu with a hint of grievance said that being single by ability was a top tier and in every respect hard to fault. Chapter 114, Endless Forms 3. The system's warning made most people drop the idea. Yet a small bold faction still worshipped that risk correlates with return. Truong Tan was one of them. He thought the system said forest burning caused severe unknown outcomes. If unknown meant both good and bad, then at 50% it was worth a try. In the last round he tossed a torch and smoothly cleared as a survivor. Having tasted sweetness, his nerves swelled. He quickly ignored the warning and boldly lit dry twigs and wood. Then he retreated fast into the isolation ring. Fire devoured trees and spread outward ceaselessly and only grew. At the same time dense black smoke slowly diffused. He soaked cotton with mineral water, masked his mouth and nose, and calmly watched the blaze. Just then he heard wolves whining and scattered cries of other species. Some wild wolves had been caught by fire and howled in pain. At times one rolled on the ground and splashed into water to douse flames. He, however, lounged in the sun and amused himself. While he indulged in bright visions, the wolves' howls drew nearer. His face shifted as he thought the ring might be the safest place in this primeval wood. Would beasts flee here for refuge? As if to prove it, the wolf pack appeared before him. Seeing him, they rushed like sworn enemies. He dodged in a mess. He faintly sensed trouble, yet it was too late to stop. The blaze was too large, and unless heavy rain fell, no one could halt it. He told himself again and again that this was darkness before dawn. He drew grenades and a pistol from storage and fought back without hesitation. Over half the wolves fell, and in a moment they would be cleared when a distant rumble of steps arrived, a giant life-form closing. Next came many venomous snakes. Then 5 black bears. He held on with all his might, his face whitening as his supplies dwindled. At last he slumped and stared as a jungle python slid toward him, and he cursed, "Damn!" Weighing over 100 kilograms, once it coiled and gently squeezed, the prey would snap. His face twisted at the thought. Only now did he grasp the system's meaning. Burning the forest was certainly deadly. Unknown meant he would not die to one beast alone, for predators here were many. In a flash he turned into white light and desperately wanted to swear. At 9 in the morning the next day a precise mechanical voice sounded, "Day 2 in the game." Chengdu rubbed his eyes and rose to work. Tahan was slightly surprised and said, "I received rare grade scented soap." She opened her right palm to show the bar. After use, satiety plus 20, cleanliness plus 100, stamina plus 80, the states charmed, poisoned, allergic, and diarrhea vanished. 5 bars came at once. She added, "Good." Chengdu exhaled. The biggest issue was daily goods, and if her luck spiked to trigger several times it would help. Tahan stayed clear-headed. "I know your thought, but do not hope too much. I unlocked a second profession long ago, and this is my first medicated soap. Maybe long bad luck saved for a burst." He guessed. He yawned and rallied. While he rested she sketched on mud with a stone and now pointed, "We have carved a living space. I will chop trees into tall stakes and raise a fence. Better yet, set the tent at center, make a broad activity area, dig a surrounding moat, and stock it with electric eels. Thus the river beasts become guardians." She pictured the result and felt a surge, but checked herself and asked, "How wide should the moat be, fully closed or with a gate?" "Closed," he answered at once, clearly thought out. "Use a plank bridge. To enter or leave we move the board between banks." That was how ancient forts worked. Usually a city was wrapped by a moat and had a bridge for access. The bridge rose for defense and fell when people must pass. She calculated, catching eels is feasible. Sources say after continuous discharge they rest long to recover. If we herd cattle or horses first to drain them, then capture will be easy. Yes, he nodded. He had read the same. We must not only dig and stock the moat but also block beast raids anytime that burns supplies, she analyzed. Only 2 laborers exist, and with just us it may take days. If we widen the trench while digging, the time grows. The good news is we lack neither food nor water, so we can spend strength on the moat. Once the moat is done and eels and other beasts are inside, the central land gains safety. Survival then equals a race between supply talents and consumption. He smiled. 3 high-tier talents can feed 2 players and level ups fully restore stats. It is worth a try. She weighed and decided, okay, finalize the working space and trench size, then dig.
But they split on the activity area and moat size.
She argued for finishing the moat early even if sacrificing area to avoid night-long worries. He argued there was no need to rush with food and drink secured. Finish before half the stock is gone and the result is the same, provided safety. If supply talents outpace consumption you live long, if not you die early.
A brief stalemate.
She changed tack. By your plan how many days to finish? Roughly, 1 day to cut stakes and 6 days to dig, total 7, he answered after thought. She proposed, within 7 days finish the moat, extra time goes to widening, if short then complete it once.
Works, he nodded. Agreement reached. After a simple breakfast he kept chopping.
She wanted to dig but the space was uncleared. She wanted to stake but trees were uncut. So she chopped with him to raise efficiency.
That is better, we can sink, he said no more.
Seeing the area enough he took a wooden shovel and turned mud.
She pounded stakes one by one and then cooked soup.
By her hand lay a king cobra over 2 meters long that looked delicious.
It now lay still.
The unlucky snake had stalked him and struck while he chopped. It failed to hunt and died instead. She skinned it, gutted it, sliced it small, and stewed with ginger. In time a strange fragrance spread. She stirred and tasted and smiled. She turned and called, "Done, come eat." He scanned his stats and saw cleanliness and satiety diving, a drop speed never seen before, 4 to 5 times past dungeons, and sighed. The finale designer went a bit mad. As she spoke she served him a bowl. He took it, eyed the remaining half body of snake, and frowned. Why so much left?
2 to 3 meters, we cannot finish.
The waste pained her. Not sure, he mused, at this drain rate we might finish it. Players need not fear overreading and can freely feast.
Cannot finish means satiety reached the cap and no more is needed.
Food would spoil before they finished.
Now satiety drops fast so intake must rise.
Food may all be used before spoilage. Hearing finish, her first reaction was not delight but a chill. The consumption speed was terrifying. Soon he saw his optimism had been naive. Even with 2 workers, heavy labor speed from a girl was moving, even if that girl was Tahan. He silently adjusted at once. Except for meals and sleep they dug day and night and finally before dusk on the 5th and game day they finished the moat and built a thick moving plank. Task complete, she murmured, smoother than expected. She had thought the deadline would slip. He said evenly, because the original plan set depth 1 meter and width 4 meters, then I quietly changed to depth 0.8 and width 3, the workload fell. She fell silent, pretended she heard nothing, and focused on roasting venison. The cobra meat had been tossed. Spoilage came quicker than planned and animals kept coming to their door to become stores, so trashing lower grade meat did not hurt much.
Only that.
She frowned and muttered, is it illusion? Why do I feel more beasts are coming and in greater variety? His eyes flashed and he murmured, the mountain rain is about to fall. Note 1. From when mountain rain is to come the pavilion is full of wind, a storm sign before a deluge, before a big event omens arise. Source, How to Live as the Villain, Chapter 100.
78.
The authors shared a thought.
Wild snake meat carries parasites.
Eating it is not 100% safe, they merely avoided debuffs. The dev brother twitched a smile, other players flee in all directions and these 2 built a fortress, are they planning a long stay in this dungeon?
Chapter 115, Infinite Forms 4.
The moat was finished, but the question of night watch loomed.
The outer ring is done, ordinary beasts cannot cross, so should we skip night guards?
Chun Yu whispered. Days of hard labor had drained them.
The smooth discussion made him oddly uneasy. Our stamina caps are high, if something happens we can wake and handle it.
Tahan said firmly, then added, I level up tomorrow.
He understood at once.
Whether stamina sat at 10% or 90%, by 9 o'clock in the morning it would return to 100%. So as long as tonight posed no mortal danger, she would not top up. They slipped into sleeping bags and dozed off in the tent.
The night passed peacefully.
At dawn, Dahan woke to find her stamina at 721 and felt it was a waste to level now.
Chunyu yawned, "Wanna catch electric eels?"
Her eyes lit up and she nodded. They laid a plank across the trench river and crossed, then hid the plank nearby.
"Let's go to the creek."
They walked in single file, alert to every rustle. As she was about to step, her foot refused to move. She looked down and saw green leaves coiling her ankle. "What is this?" she frowned, and the more she struggled the tighter it wound. "Careful, witch grass," he warned, sprinting over, but brushing some flowers made branches surge to wrap him. He drew a machete without hesitation, hacking, while she slashed the leaves with a dagger and broke free.
"Go!"
They bolted without another word. Far away she stopped, panting. He steadied his breath and explained, "What caught you was witch grass, pretty to the eye, but once stepped on it binds you still. Without a blade to cut free, you starve to death. What hit me was a man-eating tree that coils prey until breath stops, but a cleaver or dagger can sever it. The wilds are truly dangerous," she shivered, and the wish to build a safe redoubt grew stronger. It had looked dire, yet both were unhurt. She answered, then her gaze snagged on a nearby thicket.
"What was that?" She tugged his sleeve and pointed. He squinted and only after several checks did he see a small bit like a crocodile tail. He did not fear large beasts, but the primeval jungle imposed limits. The system forbade fire, so explosives and launchers must be avoided. With predators everywhere, killing one did not mean killing all, so weapons were for defense, not provocation. He squeezed her finger and murmured, "This way." They edged away from the crocodile and, once safe, took a wide detour without looking back. At last they reached the creek. The bank was bustling. An injured buffalo, lame on the left leg and strayed from its herd, was ringed by nearly 24 gray wolves. The buffalo bellowed to intimidate, yet was forced back step by step. As the wolves formed an assault line, a swarm of vicious piranhas lunged at the buffalo. With triangular teeth and terrible bite force, they shred prey in moments. The wolves retreated and chose another hunt, for while low on the chain, tangling with piranhas was worse, so they wisely withdrew. "These things move in schools and are as fierce as electric eels." He looked at her. "Skip eels, catch piranhas instead?" Her face stayed flat. "You actually know how to catch them?" She had never imagined keeping piranhas as sentries, so had not studied them. He rummaged in his pack. "I have a net," she almost laughed, remembering his cheat-like toolkit. She nodded. "Do it, but we must divert water first." "Dig a trench and lead the creek through," he said. They bustled again. For the first time she felt solo play was a bad habit, for when labor was needed there were not even slaves to draft. Luckily the camp was close to the creek. In under 2 hours the channel was done. Next problem, after we bring them back, what if the piranhas escape? He produced a guard net and fixed it between the channel and the moat so water flowed freely but fish could not. He grinned, thinking, without some special tricks how could I be your teammate? Creek water poured into the moat and soon filled it. They returned to the creek, one casting the net and one scooping with a wooden bucket, gleefully harvesting piranhas. Then a fine drizzle began to fall. The translucent interface displayed the following. Level 8, Experience 0/30. Job 1, Nutritionist, all talents at high tier, no further upgrade. Job 2, Soapmaker, all talents at high tier, no further upgrade. Belly Steadiness, 980/980. Cleanliness, 980/980. Stamina, 980/980. Raindrops ticked on the ground like a bright little tune. Back to camp and out of the rain, he hoisted the bucket and trudged off, and she hurried after. Back at camp he dumped the piranhas into the moat and they scattered, adapting at once. She set the plank and crossed to the far bank, ducked into the tent, and exhaled slowly. He crawled in after, delighted. The base finally looks proper, our effort was not in vain. Who would disagree, she sighed. Days of digging had each of them spending nearly 200 cleanliness a day, and though she was a soap maker she still spent more than she gained. Without the stash from the last dungeon the fortress plan would have died early. Each time supplies dropped, she felt a step closer to death. Absent-mindedly she recalled the powerless panic of watching stockpiles fall, then shut her eyes and breathed deep until calm returned. With them guarding, the base is safer. Staying in a tent forever is not ideal. We should build a wooden house, and if there is bamboo then a bamboo house is better. The rest can wait until the house stands. She differed a bit, preferring to focus on inventory and lie low for a few days, for without steady stock even daily needs would crush them. The rain thickened with no sign of a pause, so talk meant little and she sat quietly to wait it out. In a Kamjong group office, 2 wall screens hung side by side. The left screen kept updating lines: player 2779 eliminated. Player 58 eliminated. Player 6794 eliminated. Player 764 eliminated. The right screen showed a single number, 937, the survivors, which soon ticked to 936, then 933. Designer Linak smiled smugly at the console. Just then a staffer looked up, uncharacteristically grave. "Manager, I think we have a problem." Linak felt a bad hunch, inhaled, and kept his tone even. "Speak." "They have finished a defensive moat, filled it with creek water and piranhas, and given their talents and stockpiles, if they hole up they can survive at least 30 days. From day 11, raise the dungeon difficulty," he ordered. The team obeyed at once, keyboards clattering. The staffer risked another question: "Those two get along and never turned on each other. What if it ends without a winner?" "Only one survives," Linak said coldly. The staffer hunched and stared at his screen, silent, while Linak inwardly wept and cursed. "If you ask me, then who do I ask?" Chapter 116, Endless Forms 5. At 9 in the morning on Saturday, the system's mechanical chime sounded, and Tahan received 4 bottles of milk, 1 slice of rye bread, 1 slice of butterfloss bread, 1 piece of chocolate cake, 5 nutrition capsules, plus 3 handmade scented soaps and 2 lilac soaps, which was insanely lucky. Chengdu felt his little teammate was truly capable. They split the bread and drank milk. Tahan asked, "Do we need to worry about the piranhas raised in the water? Should we find some meat to feed them?" Chengdu smiled, "No need, they hunt on their own and are fierce." As they spoke, 3 unknown birds skimmed low over the river and made ripples. In a blink, several piranhas burst from the surface and savagely bit the birds. Their bodies writhed, they tore chunks of flesh, and dropped back into the water. Moments later, the 3 birds were reduced to white bones. Tahan shook her head and sighed, "Too ferocious." Even so, the corner of her mouth lifted in satisfaction, since a house guardian beast is better the fiercer it is, or else how could it guard? The rain kept falling and the ground grew wetter. With nothing to do, Chengdu took a dagger and a block of wood and began carving. Though their personal storehouse was well stocked, many items were still lacking. Tahan sometimes stared off, planning the next development route. Early the next morning, the rain finally eased. Tahan stepped out of the tent, took a deep breath, and enjoyed the rare freshness. Chengdu invited, "Shall we take a walk and by the way catch some piranhas to bring back?" "Let's go." After 2 days at home, Tahan wanted to stretch, so she agreed readily. Perhaps because the rain had just stopped, the road ahead was smooth, and they met no trouble. "What's going on?" Tahan felt puzzled. Chengdu pressed his lips and said coolly, "Unless this is the territory of a creature at the top of the food chain." Tahan immediately sensed the gravity. She thought a moment and said, "Let's go back. If that creature only kept to its own domain, then you do not offend me and I do not offend you." Chengdu was about to agree when a gigantic spider dropped from the sky, its body perhaps 100 times a normal spider. His face changed, and he shoved Tahan aside. The spider had a pair of hooked fangs lunging hard at Chengdu. Cold light flashed on the hooks, clearly loaded with venom. The hairs on its back bristled, and the front legs, sharp as knives, slashed wildly. One glance showed bloodlust in its eyes, so there would be no truce. Tahan swiftly pulled a grenade and hurled it at the spider. Luck helped, the grenade landed right by it and blasted it dizzy. She seized the chance, drew her Desert Eagle, and aimed. On the other side, Chengdu also backed off fast. He drew a pistol and fired in quick bursts. Even so, after a fierce assault, the spider's stamina dropped only to 55%. Tahan gasped, "How much stamina does it have? How can it attack and block? Is this a bug?" Yet endgame fights are capricious and rarely reasonable. Their barrage completely enraged the spider. It went mad, scratching its back with its hind legs. A second later, hairs sprayed out. Tahan dodged on instinct but still inhaled some hairs. The system warned, "You have triggered the bad status poisoned by a venomous spider. Stamina decreases by 1 each minute." Stamina dropping by 1 per minute was the same as when she entered the nuclear radiation instance, exposed to open air and losing 1 each minute. The giant spider's toxin was truly strong, worthy of the food chain apex. Chengdu snapped, "You could not bring yourself to be ruthless, you're brave." He went all out and attacked recklessly. TSS. The spider focused harder and slashed even more viciously. Chengdu fired again. At the same time, Tahan tossed a timed explosive under the spider. Explosions boomed one after another. At last the spider ran out of stamina and collapsed. Chengdu scanned around, saw the trees were not on fire, and finally exhaled. Tahan promptly swallowed an antidote. Unexpectedly, after using the detox pill, the bad status did not clear. It only changed from stamina decreases by 1 each minute to stamina decreases by 1 every 2 minutes. Chengdu frowned and took another detox pill. Even then the bad status did not change. Tahan said helplessly, "Looks like we can only drink vitality potions." A giant spider that cannot be eaten is very hard to handle, and still makes them consume vitality, made Chengdu feel he had taken a loss. 10 minutes later, they reached the creek, and Chengdu cast his net. He only scooped up a few harmless-looking fish with no killing power. He said sharply, "The remaining piranhas have already swum away." Fishing also has time limits, and Tahan was fully convinced. Piranhas cannot coexist with other fish. When starving, they even turn on their own kind. After a long silence, Chengdu said, "Let's follow the creek forward a bit, maybe the piranhas have not gone far." Tahan agreed. They moved on. Soon she found she had been naive. Before them was a body nearly 2 meters long. Even lazing on the ground today, it still radiated pressure. Tahan tugged Chengdu's sleeve to say it is too dangerous outside and that they should retreat. Just then, a nearby caiman shrieked in pain. "You are already at the top of the food chain, why the wailing?" Tahan grumbled and looked back. She saw a terrifying scene, a forest python about 4 to 5 meters long coiling a caiman and slowly tightening. Standing not far, she could even hear bones creaking. The caiman struggled hard but could not break free. When the caiman died, the python swallowed it down. It was too much, so Tahan said nothing and hurried away. They sprinted from the python's area. Only when safe did they stop to breathe. Tahan mused, "Caimans eat small pythons, adult forest pythons eat caimans, karma arrives quickly." Chengdu wondered, if one that big has so much stamina, what if we burn through all supplies and still cannot kill it? Tahan waved weakly, "Forget it, let's go back." Unexpectedly the camp was not peaceful either. More than 10 water snakes swam in the ditch, eyeing the dug channel as a settlement. The piranhas, native residents of the riverbed, would not sit idle and began a massacre to add meals for themselves. The water snakes fought back with all they had. In the end, except for 2 that fled in time, all the rest were swallowed by the piranhas. "Well done," Tahan praised with a bright face. Perhaps emboldened by surplus food, halfway back several piranhas leapt from the water and tried to bite a chunk off her. Tahan's personal store had cookware. She drew a frying pan and went smack to knock them down.
Dizzy, they dropped back into the water, gained no advantage, and finally quieted. Back at camp, Chengdu said, "Let's make another plank, wider and thicker this time, to save effort and add safety when crossing."
"Is it necessary? The current one is working great." Han doubted.
Chengdu gave a wry smile and pointed at the plank. Only then did Han notice many holes in it, as if some animal vented anger on it. "If it snaps mid-crossing, what then?" he said, stopping short.
Han's face darkened. "If it broke, they would be piranha food."
"That was my oversight. I thought only the two of us were on this server, that animals were not smart enough to know how to use the plank, so I left it aside. Who knew they would mess with it?" Chengdu sighed. "Let's make another and put it in the personal store to carry, as our warehouse is not even full now."
"All right." Han agreed at once.
On the 9th day in the game, each of them drank a vitality dose and finally cleared the spider poison debuff. Han learned her lesson and stayed in the camp, refusing to go out. Chengdu set time aside to make 2 planks with more width and thickness, then each took one and stored it. When idle, they circled the camp and cleaned up hazards. Time flowed comfortably, not like harsh survival, more like a
management game.
On the 10th day, Chengdu urged building a log cabin because the tent was cramped. Han flatly refused. She glanced at him and said, "Please be quiet, daily supplies have only just outpaced consumption, keep building things and we will drain the stock." Chengdu said earnestly, "Starting early is better than late, we do not know how long we will stay here, at least give ourselves a better living space." At that, Han had her own thoughts. She wondered how long the two of them would remain in the primeval forest. Could it be that they would never set foot outside?
Chapter 117, Endless Form 6.
Inside he roared, "How long will those two nest in this dungeon? Are they settling down?"
The number on the right screen flipped to 5.
3 other players had drained supplies and were chased by beasts. Death could come anytime. Only this pair lived easily and heedless of fame, days so good they could last for years. Li Nak fumed. He had planned that after 10 days only about 10 would survive. The contest was ready to end well, yet the pair camped to wage a long war. How would this end? Worse, he feared the contest might run as long as heaven and earth.
Those two would mourn missing a bar of scented soap for days. Increased difficulty.
Li Nak ground his teeth.
A staffer winced. Cleanliness and satiety drain already triple the last dungeon, increase how?
Li Nak said, "From day 11 to day 15, drain times 4.
From day 16 to day 20, drain times 5. Day 21.
He halted and changed tone. They should not live beyond 20 days. He issued orders, raise beast raids to 3 per day, each with 20 to 30 creatures.
Add flyers to land and water. Let me think of harder gates. He brooded.
1-8 offered, Cannibal Tribe, the primeval forest has them, let them war with players.
Another tried, what about a deluge to sweep buildings?
Li Nak was cold, then only swimmers live, the duo has a boat and can joyride while skipping raids. Another muttered about tenfold drain and erasing talents and was scolded.
He sighed, do what we can now, I will think on the rest. Herbal soap bars appeared and eased stock pressure. Yet drain rose again, as if the system wished to drive players mad. Seems the publisher forbids long runs, Chengdu said.
Staying years in one dungeon would break anyone, Han exhaled. He thought he could live happily here. Hard target, he concluded, lifting the rocket launcher.
She lobbed grenades into the boar herd. Blood scent spread and piranhas turned savage.
Above, hawks circled and dove with claws ready. Lately Han roamed the camp and picked pebbles when bored.
Twang. Bowstrings sang. Chengdu swapped the launcher for a crossbow.
The hawks juked but found no window to strike back. They focused low health targets and soon more than half fell.
3 hawks wailed, wheeled, and fled. Boars plunged into the trench to sprint at the camp. They hit water and piranhas shredded them.
The herd was gone in moments. Digging the canal cost sweat and doubt, but it was right, the piranhas erase small raids, Han said.
You watch camp, I will net piranhas. Okay. He went alone and returned by late afternoon, battered and bleak.
I did not shame the mission, he said. She was not much better, but meds hit it.
The system is crazy, she said.
I know, I met over 30 gray wolves right outside and almost died, he said calmly, eyes bright with challenge. I want to see how long I last under such extremes. He also wondered which would exhaust first, food, dailies, or meds, or would weak firepower crack the line.
Then push once at full tilt, Tahan said. He dumped the catch into the canal and the third assault arrived. 10 minutes outside meant over 10 days inside.
Before Linak found more tricks, a runner yelled, "Boss, bad news," those two reached day 19. Since day 12 the counter had read 2, and now on day 19 it still read 2.
Despair spread.
Linak twitched, wishing to vanish, yet his branch manager all awaited his word. He felt more hopeless than players fighting to live in the forest.
Make it pour, river rises, piranhas surface, players get bitten, someone said. Linak lit up, talent at last. Those two are no easy lamps, the piranhas need a few days to climb, the aide added.
Victory is finishing within 30 days, Linak told himself. He calmed and ordered, from day 21 to day 25, drain time 6. From day 26 to day 30, drain time 7.
Move.
Dusk of day 20, Chengdu slumped, gasping, saved only by Tahan at the key moment.
He still shook at the memory. Unnamed birds swarmed, launching suicide dives, and somehow targeted him.
Claws raked and beaks stabbed so thick he had no time for a vigor dose.
Luckily Tahan stepped in and 8 blows, or his stamina would be 0.
She sat beside him and said evenly, "Difficulty is climbing, keep sharp." The birds gained wits and focus fired. I was late to react, he grimaced. She weighed their stock, now barely over 1/3, and every supply burned fast.
When we near our limit, shall we leave together, she asked.
We are teammates, whatever happens we help and hold each other, Tahan said.
Either of us dying first is bad, better both request exit.
I do not know if we can leave any time in the final fight, but if we both forfeit, the system should let us go. We have cleared many dungeons, we are seniors now, and we choose when we are knocked out.
She looked at him, well. He could only agree.
She thought the final fight was too hard, and they would likely be the last to depart.
The nearer the end, the heavier each choice.
One betrayal now and Chengdu could be sole champion with fame and loot.
Co-champions would lose more. The question was, would he betray?
The author mused, Chengdu, doubtful, does a petty game still weigh fame and gain?
Linak, broken, why have you not died, why have you not died? After death, Linak, more broken, how did they die together? Chapter 118, Endless Form 7.
Tahan checked the supplies and muttered, is this for a flood, do they plan to drown the whole camp?
In a flash of lightning, Chengdu reacted, if the spring overflows the trench, the piranhas will escape outside. Tahan stayed calm, block the channels and the spring will not overflow.
They put on raincoats and packed mud into the channels under the rain until the stream was stopped. Even so Chengdu looked grim, if it keeps pouring like a waterfall, the river will overflow sooner or later. More urgent than that is how we handle the beast tide, Tahan said coolly. In heavy rain grenades, rocket tubes, and timers may fail, dark clouds crush vision. Explosives are scarce, reserves are low, after days of wild use we maybe have about 30% left, when ammo runs out the line will break in time.
Chengdu fell silent as survival pressure mounted by the day. Suddenly he asked, when the river is about to overflow, should we abandon the camp and flee?
A camp helps defense yet also traps players in a narrow range. We will speak later, Tahan said, and hear this, only 2 vigor potions remain.
With things as they are, deadly random encounters are far likelier.
Chengdu choked on words, if leaving only shortens life then why leave, better to give up together when the camp falls. Rain lashed down, drops drummed the ground into countless pools. Tahan chewed dry rations and wondered if pooled rain would join the river as water seeks low ground.
While he pondered a fresh beast tide arrived.
A distant rumble shook the earth as giants approached, and birds cried in masses above.
It is the 21st day, every 5 days the difficulty climbs as before, Chengdu replied.
Time to work. Tahan finished a few bites and sprang up to fight. Chengdu felt helpless. On the 10th day he wanted a log cabin, but his partner said energy was short. She preferred planting man-eating plants in which grass, setting traps, and boosting guards. He yielded. After much toil the lines proved useless, fate still pressed. He steadied himself and watched as shapes rushed into view. In the dim light he recognized savanna elephants, grizzlies, hyenas, and water snakes charging together. Tahan snapped a rope and homemade wooden cages dropped to block part of the herd. Yet snakes slipped through gaps, elephants flung cages with trunks, and grizzlies smashed them to splinters until the frames neared collapse. Only the hyenas circled trapped with no answer. Farther on several snakes fell into pits and could not climb. A grizzly stepped on which grass and was seized, then brushed a carnivorous bloom and its upper body was bound, strong yet stuck.
Savanna elephants are clumsy here, Chengdu muttered and fired the rocket tube. Bang 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 boom, the steel-piercing rockets tore hide and flesh. Most snakes fell to traps, a few reached the river, and the piranhas devoured lunch without mercy.
A handful of hyenas finally reached the bank. Before they could wade, the fish leaped to greet new food. Seeing elephants dead and maimed, Chengdu murmured, still a bit short. He raised the tube again, but hawks dived to grab and slash and peck him. He dodged late, took scratches, and shifted to shoot the birds. At that moment grenades and timers erupted under the elephants.
With ground threats eased, Tahan looked skyward. Piranhas cannot handle flyers, so players must.
She lobbed another grenade. High thud sounded, many birds swerved, then a gale shoved the arc aside. The blast only clipped a wing, the kill rate was dire. The flock scattered so rockets worked poorly. Wooden javelins ripped upward with a hiss, cries rang above, 2 birds skewered on one shaft. Tahan grabbed stones and about to keep firing. Clearing the air was hard. They were fearless and charged despite wounds. Whenever that happened she drew a dagger from her pack and stabbed throats, but numbers swelled, sometimes 5 or 6 dived at once to strike different spots, then she swapped to a browstaff to sweep across. Even so, shoulders, arms, legs, and back still got hit. After nearly half an hour the sky went quiet and the fight was done. Cages still held some hyenas, pits held some snakes, 2 grizzlies were mummified by carnivorous vines, all else lay slain. Exhausted in body and mind, Tahan sat hard to catch breath. She did not wish to speak yet kept thinking. She knew how hard beast tides were. Hold for a few more days, if not we retreat, Chengdu said. A subclass refilled rockets, yet like a drop in a bucket it could not offset the burn rate. Collapse was only a matter of time. Tahan was indifferent. When the shameless system unleashes a grand army of beasts, or sends every apex predator at once, I will withdraw. Chengdu gazed afar and felt that day was near. On the 22nd day grizzlies, wolves, a giant python, and more than 20 birds struck together. The wolves jumped well and were many, a few even slipped into the camp. Lucky for them Chengdu reacted fast to block a wolf and kill it with a dagger, so Tahan escaped being torn apart, yet Hawk still raked her arms and back in the melee. When the tide was cleared Tahan was spent and longed to black out. After a short rest Chengdu worked again. He dug silt from the riverbed to raise the bank so water would not spill and piranhas would not escape. Then he strung guard nets round the ditch so leaping wolves would snag and fall into the river. Tahan watched, then silently helped. Her mood was tangled. Fatigue told her a super hard dungeon was not worth self-torment, yet pride urged her to see how far she could go. Unexpectedly, on the 24th day they drained danger and downed the last vigor potion just in time, brushing death yet living. They still forced through 3 more days. In the office Linak watched and fumed. Whenever he expected the 2 wreckers to die they revived like cursed roaches, stubborn beyond belief. A staffer asked, "Manager, from day 26 to day 30 do we add difficulty?" "Add," Linak answered firmly, thinking their explosives were nearly gone. If they still held out then losing would not be unjust. The staffer typed at speed. Right then the number on the right screen flipped to 0. Linak blinked at the sudden efficiency. The staffer turned and murmured. At 9 in the morning on day 26 the 2 survivors simultaneously declared to quit and asked to leave the dungeon. And then, Linak asked blankly though he knew, then nothing. The system released them both, eliminated together and knocked out together, ranks placed side by side, the staffer said. Late in the run, players often strike teammates for rank, enemies come from the front and the back, thousands formed finals teams, yet they either betrayed early or were knocked out in turn. A simultaneous quit was unique among thousands, a rare style. Author aside, Tahan sighed, "No more, I cannot bear it." Then some days later she still lived as before. Linak glared, said, "You could not bear it, why still alive, swindler?"
Chapter 119, A New Beginning, main story closed.
This time no translucent panel appeared and a mechanical voice spoke, "Congratulations on taking first place in the survival tournament, please log into the official forum for details." Then the player left the game and the pod opened slowly.
Without a word, Tahan climbed into bed.
She closed her eyes and in the next heartbeat lost consciousness. After 12 straight days in survival runs, nerves were strung tight with almost no chance to relax and body and mind were drained.
Now the piled fatigue burst forth and she dropped into deep sleep.
After nearly 16 hours she woke slowly. It was before dawn and her stomach roared. With no better choice she rose to find food. She ate a packet of instant noodles and mixed a cup of oatmeal, and at last her spirit felt a little brighter. Sitting on the sofa recalling the last battle, she did not notice her soft sigh. If she had rested well before entering the primeval forest instance she could have done even better. Yet in truth 11 prior survival instances had burned much energy. In ordinary moments that was not felt, but under sustained high tension the side effects showed. Her thinking ran a beat slower. Thus late in the game she often felt weak and even made a few needless mistakes.
Luckily her strength far exceeded the crowd.
So even with some errors she still sat proudly in the first chair.
It seems in the end Chengdu also chose not to betray.
For some reason that pleased her more than the crown. She cleared her throat, steadied herself, and opened the survival forum. The pinned posts had refreshed. Post 1 read, "Rewards for the top 10,000 players, see inside." She opened it and found, survivors ranked from 1,000 to 10,000 receive 10,000 yuan, those from 100 to 1,000 receive 100,000 yuan, and those in the top 100 receive 1 million yuan. She had not expected real cash and admired rich and generous Cam Jong Group. After noting the claim method she closed the post to continue. Post 2 read, "Cam Jong sincerely invites high-level players to join the alliance and test newly developed games. Recruiting 20 people with premium benefits,
NK
players in the
books.
top 100 are welcome to submit resumes." She had not expected high pay and a promise to hire elite players as testers, a hidden move indeed. Post 3 wrote, "Many players shown during the contest with ingenious crisis handling. Staff are editing highlights and in 3 days they will air on the Cam Jong live site, please look forward to it."
She finally realized the first infinite survival tournament was meant to spread wide.
She thought that being a tester sounded nice, playing games and earning money to live. So she rubbed her hands, sent a resume, and hoped to be chosen. She kept browsing and found mostly discussions, how the 10,000 finalists cleared the last fight, who might be picked as testers, which names filled the top 10 and whether anyone had met them in instances. After half a day of reading, no one posted a first-person recount of the final. She guessed everyone was exhausted or still sleeping. A few who were awake were not the sharing type, so no one started a topic. She shook her head, closed the forum, picked a movie at random, and waited quietly for dawn.
Prize money only feels real once in your own pocket.
After verification, the 1 million cash award hit her bank card swiftly.
Holding the card, she felt a little dizzy.
1 million could buy a small 2-bedroom flat with funds left to renovate. She had played only 12 days and earned that much. Those 3 days off were worth it, she sighed. Still, she only had some money, not true wealth, and could not squander it. So when leave ended she returned to work.
On the 16th of October the edited videos went up on the Cam Jong live site.
At the same time the top 50 were tallied separately. Their videos ran about 30 to 40 minutes each, collected into an album and neatly arranged.
Curious players
swarmed to see how the pros cleared. They soon learned the first 4 instances were free to watch, while the later 8 required payment.
Each video cost 1 yuan.
Or they could subscribe monthly and watch freely within the month.
Curiosity 1, many paid for a monthly pass, vowing to watch the champions clear.
Among them, the videos of Tahan and Chengdu, the joint champions, sold best. People reasoned that first place meant real ability, and if they were to watch, they should watch the best.
Also, the top 20 enjoyed an invisible perk: the government spotlighted their videos on the front page.
Not a few viewers clicked and became fans, showering gifts and turning into diehards who wanted nothing but to cheer their idols. The term came from live show call and response in Japan, originally clapping to the beat or shouting and waving lightsticks. Later it meant enthusiastic support, and since call also means a phone call, to make a call here also reads like frantically calling someone. Source by Key. Leisurely, Tahan bought a monthly pass and first watched her own final. Soon she was speechless. She did not know where Cam Jong found such skilled editors. They cut every tired or mistaken moment and kept only her upright and decisive poses. Even the exit looked not helpless but bored from playing too long and leaving by choice.
Bullet comments screamed, "Little sister is amazing, marry me."
I met her in game before, absolute beast. She and her teammate held the whole field. Take my knees, by the way, do you lack anklets? Kind with a degree and good at warming the bed. I am playing survival while she is playing business sim. I could cry, how can the gap be so wide?
Is my sense off? I suffered hard to reach day 10 and now this clear looks easy. Truth showed that people are not the same. You watch and think it is easy, you think you could do it, but under normal conditions you cannot. Your turn becomes not knowing what to do, or knowing but lacking combat stats to execute, or failing to suppress other players, or getting played. Was it not good luck and a good teammate? If I had a treasure chest teammate I would be first too. Studies show most think their intellect is above average, yet that cannot be true.
By my eyes, her play was bold and fluid, always pressing, super strong. Most people are ordinary and only a tiny few dare to daydream. As for a treasure chest teammate, can you just have one by wanting? Without matching strength, why would they team with you? Calling her average means your eyes are blind. I accept no other explanation. I watched the top 20 specials and still enjoyed Tahan and Chengdu most, yet because they teamed up, the two specials are quite similar.
So many supplies remain, jealousy twisted my face. Source by Key. I love her domineering scenes, proof that a woman does not need to hug a thigh to be mighty. Not enough to watch, I kneel for more uploads. The more I watch the more I sense romance between her and Chengdu. Tell me it is an illusion. Not just you, I read partners and lovers, thus perfect tacit understanding and no betrayal. I laugh and cry, this is not showbiz. Why do I smell a secret marriage? Secret marriage means a hidden, not public marriage. Threads drifted off topic. Before, Tahan would have explained solemnly that fans were overthinking. Now that they had exited together, she felt unable to deny cleanly. What was Chengdu doing now? The tournament was over, could they keep in touch? She fretted a little. Before she sorted it out, Cam Jong hit a snag. The player ranked 20th, Tran Hang, sued the live site for posting edited gameplay without consent and demanded heavy damages. Tahan had not cared and watched without a thought, but some players cared deeply. The crowd grabbed melons, expecting a public tear. Yet Cam Jong released documents, proving the rules stated that late-phase gameplay might be edited and posted on the live site with revenue split half and half. The papers bore Tran Hang's signature, proving consent. So the war ended before it began and Tran Hang got no compensation. Next day the featured slot showed the player ranked 21st and Tran Hang was removed. The company said that if a player minded, the publisher respected that wish. They were very good at reading the room. She thought the matter closed, but half a month later she received a large payment labeled live site revenue share, over 5 million. She froze, almost thinking accounting had sent it wrong. The caller explained that some monthly users were hard to tally, so the rest would be settled early next month and transferred as well. 5 million was thus placed into her hands. They added, your clear video caused a great stir and earned wide praise. We have your resume on file and if you agree you can come work at Cam Jong's. Earning in 1 month what a lifetime salary could not, there was nothing to hesitate. She answered firmly, I will. After setting a meeting for 2 days later she resigned and went home to rest.
Her boss tried to keep her, but her mind was set and he let her go.
Waiting felt uncommonly long.
The player ranked third was a very strong Lone Ranger. From the moment he entered he looked like a seasoned hunter, calm and steady. If a giant spider had not dropped from above while he looked away he might have lived longer. Once inside he found water and stayed. Thirsty he drank from the stream, hungry he roasted water seekers to eat. He even displayed a bare-handed piranha catch and when starving roasted piranhas to eat. Sadly the riverbank teemed with beasts and he was ambushed by a swarm of poisoned dart frogs and eliminated. The player ranked fifth had two professions, daily supplies and pharmaceuticals. Each day he hunted to fill his belly, then hid and waited quietly for time to pass. He could not fight many at once and was knocked out in the end. Watching through the top 20, she found that most fell not for lack of supplies but to sudden ambushes they could not handle. In other words, their prep had been thorough. If I had entered alone, or if others found trustworthy teammates, the results might differ, she murmured. That night her resume got a reply fixing time and place for a meeting. On the day, she arrived early at Cam Jong headquarters. To her surprise the first person her eyes met in the lobby was Chung-do. He wore casual clothes with mismatched tones, yet with his natural hanger frame he stood out in the crowd. He glimpsed the familiar figure and quickened over, grumbling softly, "We shared life and death, why did you not contact me after the contest?" In truth he preferred to say life or love, yet feared scaring her and changed the phrasing. She admitted honestly, "I wanted to, but I feared disturbing your life." After all they were only online friends, and counting real time they had been together about 10 days. The corner of his mouth lifted and he spoke in earnest, "It would not disturb me, reach out freely." "Okay," she agreed readily, then thought of a hitch, "Then why did you not contact me?" He paused and gave the same answer, "I wanted to and feared being disliked." "It is fine, I do not dislike you," she smiled. He answered, and his brows softened. "You are the pair who jointly took first, right, to Han and Chung-do?" Lee Nak arrived on cue and said briskly, "Follow me." "Ah, we are not lovers." "At least, not yet," she added in silence. Lee Nak said blandly, "You will soon be colleagues, no need to hide." "I plan the top 10 are invited to join as testers." "When we invited Chung-do he meant to decline, but once he heard you were coming he agreed at once. If that is not romance then what is?" Wit flashed in his eyes as if to say, "Do not try to fool me." Hearing this, she froze, while his face did not change though he wanted to drag this unreliable man into a game and torment him 100 times. "Come sign, once signed you will be Cam Jong employees. Work 9 to 5, weekends off, base pay is $210,000, year-end bonus from $300,000 upward with no cap. Also all federal benefits apply, rest assured," he said in a tempting voice. She promptly signed and silently told herself that a new life began. The author spoke. Question, how new is new? To Han, seriously, I have money and I have a man and I can laze as I please. Chung-do, in agreement, I like that plan and like it more if I can laze with that man. Main story ends and next come side stories of life after. Chapter 120, Extra 1, Economic Crisis 1. After that she realized that doing the work she loved could also pay her living expenses, and the pay was even high. Later on she was shocked to find that someone was regularly wiring very large sums into her account. It was so much money that a lifetime of work could hardly earn it. Unable to resist, Tahan ran to ask Lee Nak, because she felt it must be a bookkeeping mistake or a wrong amount or the wrong recipient. A large sum? Lee Nak chuckled as if hearing a joke and said, "You simply do not know what a truly large sum is." Quick on the uptake, Tahan understood at once, "So I will receive even more later?" Of course. Lee Nak answered at once, "We are only in phase 1 of expansion, later the plan will step up by player ranking, and that is when the real big money arrives." He shot her a sideways glance and his tone cooled, "The investment intensity for first place and second place is completely different." He went on that the company intended to throw everything behind the top finisher, tilting all resources to make him blaze with fame. If Tahan and Chung-do had not become the last two survivors then no one would have cared about a tie. Who knew it would turn out so neatly that they endured to the end?
Thinking back even now, Linak still felt it was an accident. And then what? Tohan ignored the jab and pressed urgently. Linak's eyelid twitched and he continued, "A tie is hard to handle, you two were lucky, and at first you were even a party, so the game videos overlapped a lot in post, therefore after discussion the company decided to cut and splice the two of you into one piece, then push it with both the first and second place resources." Hearing that, Tohan grew delighted. It meant tying for first did not split resources and instead won extra promotion. Stranger still, most of your joint albums were praised, and some people specially came to watch how love looks inside a survival game. His expression grew complicated. He ended the chat with one line, in short, "You are about to be famous, just wait to collect more money." The development room demanded a constant stream of drafts, designs and polish before a new dungeon could be researched. Thus more than a month after taking the job, Tohan finally received her first assignment, to playtest the dungeon called Economic Crisis. Linak briefed the 20 playtesters, "During the test there is no such thing as clearing the stage. You will all enter one server together. Inside, besides you, there will be 100,000 NPC citizens. We prepared 20 different identities, the basic stats like satiety, cleanliness and stamina are similar, but the job talents vary in quality and the carried items differ. Now each of you will draw lots to randomly choose your identity." The 20 people crowded together to draw. Tohan casually chose a character card and held it. Books. Once the selection ended, Linak announced, "Character selection complete, next step is to enter the game pod, good luck everyone." With that the testers lay in their pods and the game truly began. In a flash of dizziness, a familiar thick fog wrapped Tohan. The mechanical voice sounded, "Welcome to Infinite Survival Game, would you like to view your character attributes?" Tohan chose yes. A transparent panel popped up, stating that her name was Tohan, level 2 with experience 0/30, job silversmith with intermediate talent and experience 0/30, satiety 200/200, cleanliness 200/200, stamina 200/200, and an intermediate talent that within a dungeon each day there is a 45% chance to obtain 1 silver accessory, a 10% chance to obtain 2 silver accessories, and a 1% chance to obtain a complete set of white silver jewelry. Tohan fell silent. Thinking positively, the job fit the theme. In an economic crisis everyone lacks money. Yet in her heart it felt like chicken rib, tasteless to eat and a pity to throw. A thing that brings little benefit. She felt a little dejected. She muttered, why not a goldsmith, since gold was worth far more than silver. Still, something is better than nothing. She trusted her own strength, and even with a trash job she did not need to use, she believed she could clear by herself. With that thought she calmed, closed the panel and prepared to enter the dungeon. The mechanical voice asked again, "Would you like to view your personal items?" An instant later a long black wallet appeared before her. Inside she found 1,000 BOI in cash and a credit card. Apart from those 2 items there was nothing. She squeezed the wallet and after a long moment was speechless. In that moment she understood what rock-bottom poverty felt like. As if deliberately leaving a pause for players to settle down, the voice spoke again, "Preparation is complete, would you like to enter the game now?" Tohan chose yes without hesitation. White light flashed and her figure vanished. When she came back to herself she stood at the head of a bustling commercial street. She walked while observing and found the business atmosphere wildly lively. Snacks for sale, hot snacks, all handmade at home. Hand-pressed buns made on site, want extra egg or extra meat? Milk tea and fruit juice and hot dogs, come take a look. Squid balls and fried rice cakes with squid, hurry and see. Food stalls called along the street and business was booming. Tohan wondered if she had entered the wrong economic crisis dungeon. Besides snacks there were many shops. She wandered aimlessly and stepped into one at random. Inside she found a high-priced boutique selling luxury items for women. After checking the prices, she felt deeply that she was dirt poor and truly could not linger.
Just as she turned to go, she heard a dialogue nearby. "These shoes are only 1,599, not expensive. Please try them. The leather is good and they are very comfortable." "They are comfortable, but I only want a pair under 1,000, forget it. Please think it over." Shoes under 1,000 are absolutely not as comfortable as these, and in the end you suffer. A woman should value quality over quantity. Buy good shoes, rest assured the quality here is excellent and they will last for years. After a long silence, the customer asked, "When does the discount end?" The clerk answered quickly, "I am not sure, perhaps it will return to the original price at any moment." The customer clearly wavered but still hesitated. "But my monthly salary is only 5,000, spending 1,599 on shoes does not feel right. If you buy these shoes, your cash on hand will be tight." The customer still hovered. The clerk offered a fix at once, use a credit card and pay in installments, split into 3 months, each month only a few hundred, you will not feel pressure. "You make sense." The customer was persuaded and even bit her lip and said on her own, "Bring me that khaki bag as well, its color matches the shoes, I will buy them both." "Yes, madam," the clerk replied directly. In the end, the customer bought a handbag and a pair of high heels, spent nearly 3,000 and paid by credit card. She left beaming as if she had scored a bargain. Watching the whole process, Tahan honestly felt that if the clerk did not join a multi-level sales outfit, it would be a waste of talent. After sending that customer off, the clerk came over warmly. "Hello, miss, what would you like to buy?" Seeing her approach, Tahan involuntarily clenched her wallet. She pressed her lips and said coolly, "I am just looking. I recommend this silk scarf." Hearing that, Tahan glanced at the scarf by instinct and found the pattern special and very versatile. The clerk rattled on beside her, "Paying by credit card is in vogue. If you swipe and choose 6 months, each month is only 70 BOI. It is a great deal. This scarf is a bestseller here. Many customers buy one to match outfits. Its design is quite classic." Tahan said nothing more, grabbed her wallet and turned to leave. She moved so fast it was like a giant spider. A caiman crocodile and a green python were charging after her. Tisk. The clerk sighed with regret, then quickly rallied to greet the next customer. Far from the shop, Tahan still felt a lingering chill, so scary and so dangerous. That language seemed to carry a spell that made customers willingly part with money. A moment of inattention and your wallet would be badly wounded. Only now did she vaguely grasp the signs of an economic crisis. Spending without restraint and borrowing at will, once wages are cut or jobs are lost, what awaits them is a crushing blow. After thinking a while, she decided to keep roaming the stores. She wanted to observe up close how severe over-borrowing for consumption had become. In the car dealership, someone bought a car without paying a single coin. The price was split over 36 months and each month they shouldered nearly 3,000 for the car. Add in driving fees, insurance, fuel and maintenance, and each month they fixedly spent about 4,500. Some people plan to blow off steam and then work hard and spend a whole year paying off debt over 10,000. In the luxury watch shop, custom perfumes, high-spec laptops and expensive phones were also being snapped up. Witnessing all kinds of irrational behavior, one line surfaced into Han's mind: economic crises often erupt amid excessive prosperity.
NK Books.
At 9 in the morning the system voice rang, day 1 of the game. She waited a long time and nothing else triggered. Apparently the chance did not roll. She shrugged and did not mind, then went to the mall to buy a backpack. The clerk pushed hard, "This is our best-selling backpack, big capacity, good quality and a famous brand, only 239 BOI all in." Tahan did not respond. She chose 3 of the cheapest backpacks at 100 BOI each, paid and walked away at ease. The clerk was speechless and could only stare
NK
after her as
Books.
she left.